to call the meeting to order. First off, I'd like to take roll call.
Member Shaughnessy present.
Member Abby Winberg, present.
Member John G. Kelly present.
Christopher Meade present. PJ Foley present.
Thank you. I'd like to entertain a motion that we approve the last month's meetings.
Make a motion that we approve last month's meeting.
Second.
All that in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, we're going to be taking this out of order a little bit tonight. Oh, yes, the public hearing, sorry. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. The planning board reserves the right to administer oath through the chair, summon witnesses, call for the production of papers, cross-examine any person giving testimony during the proceedings, declare recess, inspect the subject site or buildings during reasonable hours, and adjourn the hearing for cause. The order of business will be announced by the chair. All questions will be directed to the chair. Any person wishing to speak, please raise your hand for recognition from the chair. When recognized, please stand, state your name, address specific interest in the proceedings, and special credentials, if any, pertaining to the presentation. Please speak slowly and within the context of the hearing matter. The hearing is being stereographed and taped for the public records, and the planning board reserves the right to exclude any unnecessary, irrelevant, or repetitive or harassing presentations. Okay. We are going to take the meeting out of order. The first order of business will be a continued public hearing on 65 Newport Ave. And we do have are you gonna?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Rob Fleming from Fleming & Fleming. We are requesting a continuance of this matter to work some details out. So I appreciate your consideration in that respect. I'm covering for Edward Fleming, again.
Thank you. Okay, so you want to push it out to the June 10th meeting?
That'd be fantastic, yes.
Okay. I get a motion to continue this to the June 10th meeting?
Make a motion that we continue to the June 10th meeting.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you so much.
Mr. Fleming.
Thank you.
Go get your brother.
The second order of business tonight will be the continued public hearing on 90 Columbia Street, Planning Board case number 2026-03. You have the floor.
Great. Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Joe Duquette from the law firm of Bowditch and Dewey, here tonight on behalf of the applicant. Joining me tonight is various members of the project team as well as principal for the applicant. So we're excited to be back before you again. We last met with you, I believe, in February. And so I wanted to provide a high-level update of what's happened since that meeting. We held a community outreach meeting or neighborhood meeting that was set up by Councilor Ryan. Solicited a lot of feedback from that meeting. And one of the main pieces of feedback we received was the concerns over the parking on the site. So we have revised the layout. We shifted the building, shrunk it a little bit, and extended it a little further back. And as a result of that, we're able to add an additional 6 parking spaces. So now instead of 25 parking spaces, we have 31 parking spaces. The building's the same exact square footage. Another major change was the swim school use is only now going to be on the first floor of the building, no longer on the second floor as well. The second floor area, if you may recall, is kind of the open space area for viewing, but as well as for parties. So by eliminating that swim school use on the second floor, our intent was to mitigate the more parking intensive aspects of the swim school use here at the property. And in its place, we are putting in an owner-occupied dwelling unit. The square footage of that space was roughly, I think, 4,000 square feet. That's not going to be the entirety. So part of that space went towards the daycare use, and the remaining space went to the dwelling use. So if you're wondering why that unit is particularly large, it's just otherwise empty space within the building. But we did that because primarily, again, we wanted to reduce as much as we could within the confines of the project, the parking intensive use. We also submitted and prepared a traffic impact and access study, which confirmed that the 31 parking spaces that we are now providing is sufficient to meet the demands of this use. And we have our traffic engineer present tonight to discuss more on that. But yeah, just general reminder for all those in attendance, this matter or this property is within the MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, and the combination of uses is allowed by right with site plan review from this board. And we look forward to answering any questions that the board has. For now, I will turn it over to the engineer for the project, Nick Dewhurst. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. For the record, Nick Dewhurst with Bowler, civil engineer on the project. If we could flip to the next slide, probably just keep going a few. So just to reorient ourselves, Center Street down kind of bottom left of this graphic, Columbia Street, and then our site is 90 Columbia Street, so it's that parcel that's outlined in red there. So this is our previous site plan. As Joe mentioned, since we've last been in front of this board, we have added 6 parking spaces. We did receive site peer review comments from Beals and Thomas that we have responded to and received kind of subsequent follow-up comments in response to our responses within the past few days. We do think that we've addressed the majority of their comments. There's really not much outstanding, and most of the outstanding items are items that they've kind of deferred to this board on if they're warranted or not. So the big change between the plan that you're looking at now and the next plan, from a site standpoint, really is just the additional parking. There was another comment about providing 10-foot separation between the building and the parking area. This plan provided, I believe it was 7.5 feet. So there were some the building shifted plan right a little bit and was also narrowed a little bit just to be able to provide that 10 feet. But if we flip to the next slide, so you can see that parking area on the left side has been elongated, and really that's to provide those 6 additional parking spaces. And then you can see that sidewalk out along the left side of the building, between the building and the parking area, has been widened to provide that 10 feet. Other than that, the site layout is generally identical to what was presented to this board back in February. A lot of the comments we received from the peer reviewer were specific to stormwater and utilities, which I don't really want to bog you guys down with, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to go into more detail. The stormwater system was increased in size slightly just to accommodate for the additional impervious surfaces due to the increase in parking area. And then just one of the other things I'll point out is we were asked as part of the peer review letter to provide new sidewalk along Columbia Street, which you can see this plan does show. The most recent peer review letter actually takes that a step further and is asking us to provide the sidewalk across Plain Street, which we have no objections to, so we can include that on future plan revisions. But that's really it from a site standpoint as far as what's changed between the last time we met and now, but if there's any specific questions, happy to.
I actually have one question.
Yep.
Where will the pool be discharged to when you drain the pool?
Sure, so we don't have, so that would fall under an MEP's scope, specifically the plumbing engineer, which I don't think we have signed up at this point, but I think it would be treated similar to most kind of water waste within a building, and it would be directed to the sewer, is my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think I'll turn it over to the architect.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Jarmel. I was here, not the last meeting, the meeting before. In answer to the pool question, my firm will do the MEP engineering. Generally, the pool drains into the sanitary sewer if it's necessary to drain. But with these indoor pools, it's rare that you actually drain them down. And there's just, you're typically adding water for the little bit of evaporation that they have. And so it becomes a more or less a closed loop system once it works forward.
Well, just when, my family used to own a resort,
Mm-hmm.
we used to drain the pool a couple times a year. The pools get drained. They don't not, you have to do work to them, you have to maintain them, you have to do things to them.
If you need to paint it.
So they do get
yeah,
drained.
Yeah, but not on a regular basis.
Okay.
Like I have a personal pool, I'm constantly draining water out of it because of the rains and so on. But these indoor pools generally recirculate the water. But again, it typically goes to the sanitary sewer. Okay, so you may recall this, the drawing that you have up here is the initial proposal. It really, a minor change and a major change was made to the design since the last time I spoke. The building became a little narrower and a little bit longer, and as my colleague, a civil engineer, just testified, that was done to make the the sidewalk in front of the building 10 feet wide, and also help facilitate adding some parking spaces. The other major change, which you can see, not working on the screen, but on the second floor, we had the swim school was a two-story space on the second floor, and the second floor was shared between the childcare and the swim school. We've eliminated the second floor occupancy of the swim school. That was generally a hole in the floor that you could look down on the pool, and it was intended to be used for birthday parties. So the operator of the swim school has determined that they won't do birthday parties, which I think will help with some of the traffic and we'll say bringing in of families or children that are not enrolled in the child care center or in the swim school. So what we did instead is we redistributed that to create a seventh apartment. As you heard earlier, this is intended for Mr. Gandhi, who owns the learning experience and will own the building. Although he doesn't live in Massachusetts, he has 11 schools in Massachusetts as of now and has others planned, 11 operating. So he's up here several times a month. Sometimes he comes with his wife and his children. So that would be entirely for him. And what has now happened is just talking about building in terms of square footage. The footprint of the building, the overall first floor is 10,974 square feet. That is shared between the swim school and the child care center. The second floor, same size, 10,974 square feet, also now is shared between a 4-bedroom apartment for Mr. Gandhi and the learning experience space. The third floor of the building, remains unchanged and includes 6 apartment units. So in total, there are 7 apartments. Previously, there were 6. There's 4 2-bedrooms, 1 3-bedroom, 1 1-bedroom, and 1 4-bedrooms. I know there was some questions, I think, in some of your staff reports about operation, how the child care center drop-off pickup works, as well as how the swim school will work. I just refresh your memory. Last time I spoke, I mentioned that I've done about 400 of child care centers specifically for the learning experience throughout the country. And I also am a real estate developer, and I've built 12. I own 7, and one of the schools that I own is attached to my office. So for the last 23 years, I see how these operate, not just from designing them, but firsthand knowledge of witnessing it 5 days a week. So the child care center is open Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Parents, unlike a public school, are allowed, it's designed to cater to parents' needs. They're allowed to drop off and pick up children whenever they want, unlike a public school where the bell rings at 8:30, so you have a mad rush of all the children showing up at the same time and parents getting in lines to drop them off. Typically, the drop-off will go from about 6:30 to 9:30. We have a traffic engineer that can talk a little bit more details about peak trips, but my experience has been 7:30 to 8:30 is when you see a lot of the parents coming. Parents are required to park and walk their children in. Keep in mind that many of the children are infants to about 5 years of age. so the parents have to carry them or walk them in. One thing that statistics have shown us is that on any given day, approximately 10% of the children are out sick or absent. As you may know, young children get sick a lot, as their gentleman back here nodded, and tend to get us as adults, parents sick, but as they're building their immune systems. And the other interesting statistic, which I find really fascinating, about 25% of the children are siblings, and they come in the same car. So the process of dropping off and picking up takes about 7 minutes on average, which means a parking space can turn over many times an hour. Even if you extended it to 10 minutes, you can see a parking space turn over minimum of 6, but 6 to 8 times an hour. Happens very quickly. The center's open to 6:30 p.m. We find parents tend to start picking up their children around 4:30 to about 6:30, with what I would say the peak hours somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock. The swim school is really a very synergetic use because they tend to service a similar population. Sometimes we'll see that children that are enrolled in the childcare will go right into the swim school, but they have different staggering hours. So typically, Monday through Friday, the swim school will be open from 10 to 2 p.m. for classes, and these are generally very young classes where a parent, will, mother or father, or both will come with infants or preschool children. And then again, it opens up at 6 to 8 p.m., and that's Monday through Friday. On Saturdays, it opens at 9 to 1. Again, Child Care Center is closed on Saturday and Sunday, and on Sundays it goes from 9 to noon. Most parents, because they work, will come on Saturday and Sundays. So we see the peak operations for the swim school being on the weekends. That essentially summarizes the changes and things that I had discussed at the previous hearing and the differences, and I'd be pleased to address any questions you may have of me.
Do any of the board members have questions?
Are we going to hear from Cote, the traffic engineer?
Yes,
Can we wait to hear from him, and then we'll ask questions? Is that okay?
Yep.
yeah, I'll be here if you want me to come back
Okay,
up.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, Sean Kelly with Chapel Engineering. On behalf of the project team, thank you again for having us tonight. So you may recall that it's been a few months. At our last hearing, we did have a brief presentation on traffic. At that time, we had conducted what we refer to as a traffic assessment, which primarily focused on the trip generation characteristics of the project, and then also a review of the site access to ensure that it was safe and provided the adequate sight lines and so forth. Since that meeting, we did get the peer review letter that was initially issued by your consultant, Van Asten Associates. And what they basically requested was that we expand upon our initial effort and bring that traffic study into compliance with as a full traffic impact and access study, including traffic counts, looking at bicycle and pedestrian facilities, looking at parking accommodations, looking at public transportation, things of that nature, which we've done. Yes. You're on the wrong one. Okay, so this slide here identifies the locations that we were asked to look at by your consultant. And there were 4 intersections, just going in order. We were asked to look at the Center Street, Columbia Street intersection, which will accommodate most of the entering and all of the exiting traffic for the project. Also the 2 signalized intersections of Crown Colony Drive with Center Street, and then Center Street at Thomas Bergen Parkway. We went out, we did a full assessment of existing conditions. I should also add obviously the site intersection at Columbia Street. We went out, did a full inventory of these intersections, collected new traffic count data to get a handle on existing conditions. We looked at the motor vehicle crash history. We looked at public transportation options, things of that nature. And then the volumes that we collected in accordance with industry standards, we adjusted upwards to account for growth in traffic independent of the project. And based on consultation with the planning department, there are a number of projects that we took into account. There's the approximate 300-unit Avalon development further north on Center Street. There's the MBTA facility off Bergen Parkway. And then there's also the rehabilitation of the existing car wash located adjacent to the Dunkin' Donuts Valvoline facility. So all of that traffic's been captured into our assessment of future conditions. With respect to the project itself, we utilized a combination of data published by the ITE, or the Institute of Transportation Engineers, as well as empirical data. Certainly the big generator in terms of this project is the daycare. On a daily basis, it does about 700 trips almost. That's about 350 in, 350 out. Peak hour, you're looking at anywhere from about 140 to 143 actually during both peaks. So it's about a little over 2 trips per minute. The residential use is a fairly small number, particularly given the proximity to rail transit. 34 daily trips, and then peak hour trips are only in the range of 3 to 4. The swim school does about 108 trips based on the maximum enrollment and the number of classes you would have in an evening. And then during the weekday PM peak hour, we've assumed that all of those trips would be inbound, where you would have potentially 8 students, each arriving in their own vehicle, and then 6 staff members, whether they're instructors or just general staff, that would get you to 14. So when you sum it all up, the daily traffic's a little over 800, and the peak hour numbers range from about 146 to 161. So basically, it's about 2 to 3 trips per minute on average during the busiest periods of project-related traffic. We ran all the analyses to take a look at how this project will impact area traffic. With respect to the signals on Center Street, the impacts are generally minimal. Overall delays are projected to increase by about 1 second to 3 seconds per vehicle versus what's out there today. In terms of Columbia Street, we're showing that the delays would increase by about 7 seconds during peak hours for vehicles turning off of Columbia Street. But again, no reduction to levels of service or impacts in terms of excessive queuing. The other issue point that we looked at was the parking demand for the project. I know there were a number of questions raised as to whether the parking supply was sufficient. And so what we did here is a couple things. First, we identified a couple of learning experience sites similar to the proposed in terms of enrollment, and also we tried to find sites that had MBTA public transportation access. The 2 sites that we looked at, one was in Natick, which was basically immediately adjacent to the rail line. So that was I think probably the better example. And then we also looked at a site in Franklin, which is a little less than a mile from 2 different rail stations, but certainly not as convenient as the Natick site. And what we found was that, and I should point out that the Natick and Franklin sites had about 143 to 145 students, whereas we'll have 181. So we prorated the demand that we observed up to reflect the higher enrollment. But in the morning at the Natick site, which again was closer to rail, we saw a maximum of 13 vehicles parked at any given time during the morning peak hour. At the Franklin site, which was less proximate and less convenient to transit, we saw a maximum of 18 parked vehicles. When you prorate that to our larger enrollment, that bumps that, and again, we always took the worst case scenario, which would have been Natick, Franklin. We took the 18 spaces, bumped it up to account for the larger 181 students, and we come up with a demand of 23 spaces as the max. The residential is 5 spaces. The residential peaks typically between the hours of 10 at night to 4 in the morning when everyone's home. Even by 7 in the morning, the rate goes down a little bit because people are leaving for work. So that was 5 spaces. The swim school wouldn't have any demand in the morning. So in the morning, we had a total demand of 28. We looked at the PM demand, again, at the same 2 facilities, Natick and Franklin, and what we found was it was actually the same demand. The highest we saw observed at both was 16 vehicles, and that occurred between 5 o'clock and 5:20 at night. So basically, it was just after 5 p.m. What we noted was that as you move further into the PM peak, as you get closer to 6 o'clock, that demand shrunk significantly. So we had 16 at around 5, and by the time we got to 5:45, at both sites, there were only 8 to 9 vehicles. And that's because we saw some staff leave, and certainly the demand for the pickups was a lot lower. So when you equate the maximum demand at the 5:45 peak, which for us is critical, because that's the overlap time with the swim school, we would need a total of 12 for the daycare, because the daycare is really kind of winding down. So in the PM peak, there's 12 for the daycare, again, 5 for the residential. The swim school, we're conservatively assuming 14. There are 2 classes. There's a maximum of 4 kids per class. That gets you to 8. 6 employees, that get you to 14. Certainly, we expect that some of these employees will be taking transit as well and won't be parking their car. So that 14 demand is likely going to be lower. But to be conservative, particularly given that 5:45 to 6 p.m. period, when there is that overlap, is most critical. We assume that anyone that is either taking a swim class or teaching or working there would drive, which gets us to 31. So based on that data, we made a recommendation to the team and said, listen, 25 spaces, based on the numbers we've seen, isn't going to cut it. And as pointed out, they were able to find a way to modify the building program and site layout to get us to that 31 spaces that we feel is comfortable. Again, even if everyone that either takes swim lessons or teach or works there drives in during that time period. And that's really all I have for tonight. Again, our recommendations are still the same as they were last time. We want to restrict the exiting movements from the driveway to left turns only, so they're all heading back out towards Center Street, not making a right-hand turn and cutting through the neighborhood to get wherever they're headed. We're recommending that all the signage and everything at the driveway adheres to MUTCD guidelines with respect to signage, pavement markings, things of that nature. And then again, that they would actively manage the parking during the peak daycare periods and ensure that residential parking is not occurring in the daycare slots and so forth. And that's pretty much what I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You can stay there,
I was hoping.
please. Well, that's good. A couple of comments first.
Sure.
I know we're all well aware that this is an MBTA overlay district, and the council reminded us that it's an MBTA overlay district. That's like walking into a restaurant and they say, hey, the pie's really good. Well, I don't believe them until I have a piece of the pie. It's
Sure.
kind of like the MBTA comes in and says, hey, you're going to have a community that doesn't have any vehicles because everybody takes the T, and you can have more people living here and less cars. Well, I kind of look at this. I love the idea of taking an industrial area, so don't misunderstand me. I love the idea of you taking an industrial area and putting in housing. That's great. The pool, the childcare, everybody needs daycare centers. I agree with that. But what I kind of picture here, after all this traffic stuff that you've done, is that this, to me, looks like a bee's nest. And like early in the morning, all these cars are gonna come in, 350 cars are gonna come in. Some, as you just testified, will have 2 or 3 children in them. And all the little bees, they go running into the daycare, and 350 cars go in, and then later on, over an extended period of time, like 3 hours, and then it happens again at the end of the day. So now the cars all come out, they have to take the left-hand turn. Yeah, but I live up on the right-hand side, and so doesn't the other 10 cars behind me, so they want to take the right-hand turn instead of the left-hand turn. So what I think it's great that you want to try and do this, and I know that by right, hey, you can do this. Again, until I taste it, I don't really believe it.
Right.
So what I'm saying to you is, where is could you design some type of like a traffic flow that the cars don't have to come into the parking lot and make a turn and back up and go forward and back up and go forward they got to drop off their children. In other words, I want to see like a drive-through, like you're going to, Taco Bell. There we go.
Right.
Drop off the kids, right? Keep on going. And then come back at the end of the day and pick those kids up again. Because I think this going into the neighborhood, I just think that it's going to be like a swarming of vehicles every morning, which, good for business, not so good if you live in the neighborhood, which I know the council will tell me, well, the MBTA says we can do it. Well, they don't live here.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying.
So I guess after all this traffic stuff, it comes down to, how come we don't have some type of a flow where it's like a Taco Bell, drive in, drive out?
Well, I'll say a couple things. First, this setup with the basically perpendicular parking where you pull in, walk your kid, and walk out. This is the same setup they have at the 2 facilities that we monitored in Franklin and Natick, and they both seem to work fairly smoothly. And the trips as they arrive and depart, it's not as though everyone's showing up at 7:30. I know that Matt commented, but they really are dispersed throughout the that 2-hour period that we looked at. I mean, they certainly start in the morning, but there was never any concentrated flux, I guess is the best way to put it. They're spread
I
throughout.
don't disagree with you, and I'm sure you're telling me the truth. It goes back to like, I'm gonna believe it when I see it, kind of.
Yep, sure.
Because I bet there's not a Dunkin' Donuts right behind the spot that has your daycare there. There's a Dunkin' Donuts really close here. And you wanna talk about a cluster early in the morning?
Right.
Watch that one there.
No.
And then put right behind it 350 cars that wanna drop off little, busy bees, and then 350 on the other side. I just,
No. Well, one thing I want to point out, just because I don't want to create any misconceptions, is that when we see I'll just call it 800 for a round number, that doesn't mean that there are 400 kids coming in the morning and 400 kids going. The parents have to come and go twice. You come for the drop off, then you leave, then you come back in the evening and you pull in and you leave. So So if you wanted to equate that 800 to how many kids it was, and again, it's some of that's staff, some of that's delivery, but it's more like 200, because you'd have 200 come, 200 go, there's your 4, then they come back in the evening, 200 come, 200 go, and then you get to your 8. So it's not, you're never gonna see 350 cars coming. It'll be more like 2, and that's gonna be spread over 3 hours. So it is a spread out situation. I hear you, though, it's until you see it.
Okay, in that, man, okay, I'll give you that. So now you have all these children there, you have a daycare, you have the pool, that's gonna generate a lot of trash. So now in comes BFI or, Waste Management, whoever, Troop, gonna remove the trash. How many days a week do we expect them to remove the trash? Will they have to pull in? The backup alarm's going on. Are we gonna do this early in the morning? We're gonna do this at night? We don't wanna do it when the kids are getting dropped off because, God forbid, somebody might get hurt, right? And it's dangerous.
Right.
So what's your plan on getting rid of all this trash that these little busy bees make?
Yeah, I'll defer to Matt. I'm not sure how many a day they get. You might have a better answer than I do.
I'm having a lot of fun up here, if anybody else wants to jump in.
So one of the benefits of this type of operation is there are times a day where there's no cars, other than maybe people that work there. So generally, the child care center, in between the drop-off and the pickup in the morning, has very little traffic. And as I spoke about, the swim school goes from 10 to 2. So really, a perfect time to pick up trash is in the afternoon, sometime between, say, 2 and 4 o'clock, which it'll be a private hauler, and that can be scheduled. As far as frequency, it's a good question. I don't really think these generate a lot of trash. Probably the biggest trash generator is the apartments. But I would say that if they came 2 times, maybe 3 times a week, it would be a lot. I think 2 is probably realistic. Of course, they have to, as you said, you have to see it up and running to get a good feel for it. But I'm confident that the trash pickup can happen between 2 and 4 o'clock, not interfere with any of the peak traffic hours. And, the neighbors are going to be at work, so they unless they're home, they're not going to hear that truck backing up.
Of course, some of the peak hours would be between that 4 and 6 time as well, right?
Right.
Because you got everybody leaving.
All right, so the trick would be to schedule the hauler to come 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and that's doable.
Why I have you up there, because somebody else mentioned that it's gonna be an owner-occupied, 3,000 square foot apartment above that's curious to me. If I owned this, I don't know if I'd live there, 3,000 square feet or not. You're telling me that the owner of this business is gonna live in this building?
Well, not every day. So I believe he lives in Virginia, but he will be in Massachusetts several times a month. And when he's here, he plans on staying there. It is a large apartment. It's a very generous apartment.
Right.
He has children. He has a wife that sometimes they'll come, sometimes they won't. But the reality of it is we wanted to reduce the size of the swim school, do away with that second floor so we could eliminate the swim
That's
parties.
a positive, I
Yeah,
like that.
right?
I like
And-
the idea that the
yeah.
owner is gonna be there, but he's in Virginia, so he's not really owner-occupied.
It's not-
It's more like he's gonna pass through occasionally.
I'll agree with you.
There you go.
Okay, but, rather than leave the space blank and empty, we created a nice place for him. He's invested a lot of his efforts, we'll say, into Massachusetts. He believes heavily in your state and this general area and the tremendous need for childcare. And he plans on continuing to grow here. So maybe you'll
Just
see him more often.
Understand, I'm not against you guys doing what you're trying to do, okay? I like the idea that, Quincy's open for business. This gentleman wants to spend, or his family wants to spend a lot of money here. That's great. I'm not against it, okay? I'm not against it. But what I'm against and what I'm afraid of is that the effect on the neighborhood, even though the MBTA says it's okay, I know I'm repeating myself, but it's like, are you listening to MBTA? You can say it, but it just scares me to think that all that activity early in the morning, all that activity in a neighborhood that's relatively tight, and the neighborhood out there in Franklin and Natick might not quite be like Columbia Street. You know what I'm saying? So that's what gets me nervous. I'm glad you want to come here and spend money. That's great. How about a drive-through or something like a Taco Bell?
So,
You know what I mean?
But by the way, I appreciate your questions and any questions the board or the public have. That's
Yeah.
what makes this process good. And a lot of times, good ideas come out of it that improve projects. The reason a drive-through doesn't work is because of the age of the children. Imagine you're, going to the school and you've got a 6-month-old and a 2-year-old. you have to park.
Let me
Yeah,
let me
and walk
modify
them
that
in.
a little bit.
Yeah.
When I say the drive-through, I'm not suggesting that it literally is like a Taco Bell where mom and dad don't get out of the car to take in Junior. No, I'm suggesting that they pull up to the curb and they're going in that direction. And then when they leave there, they're going in that direction. And they're not
yeah.
backing up into a parking lot that generally is square. People are pulling in and they're backing out. They're pulling in and they're backing out. This to me is like just waiting for an accident to happen in there, some type of it may not be a major crash, but it doesn't take a lot to hurt a person when you're backing up.
Yeah, generally, childcare centers are designed so parents can park and safely walk their children in, because they are required to walk their children in. So,
I'm all for it.
and they sign them in, and only a parent can sign them out, or someone the parent is given permission to. So generally, if you have like a drop-off lane, like you do at a school, somebody's gonna park their car and leave it there, and more than likely block the flow of traffic. So by allowing them
Or
to
when they
park
do
in the
leave,
flow-
they're going forward, even if
That-
you get blocked, okay, pull out and around them. You're not backing up blind, you're pulling out and around them. And they're dropping off their children, it only takes 7 seconds to drop their children. What was it?
7 minutes.
7 minutes,
Yeah.
7 minutes to drop them off.
But-
Well, they're all doing the same thing. So they're gonna go out and go forward and not backwards into a parking lot. I just see this tripping up the whole,
Yeah,
I just-
you know, all I said, my experience as doing literally hundreds of these is, it's rarely done.
please, somebody else dive into the pool, no pun intended.
I asked this question the last time that you guys presented. How did you get to the 181, and is that the maximum? And
Yeah,
I
so-
think I had asked
yeah,
about
it-
confirmation of how many
Yeah,
kids per student
Yeah,
and all that.
it is a maximum, and it's based on Massachusetts child care facility standards. Okay, as you're probably aware, the child care center gets licensed by the state. It's a very, I'll say, thoughtful process where that the facility standards go on top of the building code, okay? And these numbers, by the way, they come about as a result of looking at the age group of the children. Okay, so I don't know if you can see, but there's a chart there. And that chart where it says license calculation, okay, it talks about, it breaks down the rooms. It talks about infants 6 weeks to 12 months, infants 12 months to 16 months, and it'll show you the teacher ratio. For example, the 6 weeks to 12 months, you have one teacher or one caregiver per 4 children. The state requires you to have 385 square feet per child, and that's how you calculate it. In general, by the way, this is, I wouldn't say it's an estimate, but it's based on the facility standards. They typically use the net square footage. So what happens is when licensing comes to license the facility, generally it has a certificate of occupancy, which is issued by the city or your local construction code official. They won't come look and inspect, and then they come and inspect and they measure the room. And they may decide that there's too much furniture in there, and they'll take away furniture or take away license capacity. So generally, this is what we hope for or think we'll get. Sometimes it's a little less. You know, one thing I'll point out too is there's a room in the facility that gets licensed, even though it's not really used as a classroom. It's called Make Believe Boulevard. And it's something that's really strong around the learning experiences branding. And what it is, it's an indoor play area. We do have an outdoor play area that is also subject to the state facility standards. But, you know, we're here in the Northeast, and it gets cold in the winter, and it rains, and we don't always go outside. So we have this room called Make Believe Boulevard, which children can use. And just as an example, that room has to get licensed. But I'd make the analogy, it's kind of like a conference room in an office building. It may hold 12 people, conference room, but they're not additional 12 to the people that are in the office. So this particular room is licensed for 20 people. So the reality of it is the occupancy of the center will probably be less than the 180. But we show you the maximum because that's what, you know, what the licensing people require. I'll also emphasize that when Sean, our traffic engineer, does his calculations, I don't think he takes into consideration, and maybe I could ask him a question, the absenteeism or the overlap of, you know, children that are siblings coming in the same car. So that kind of like further reduces the numbers, but we don't tell you that because you would challenge us on that and say, what it could be, this is the worst case scenario that we're trying to give you.
Any other questions? All right, I have some questions for you.
Me, Mr. Chairman? Or-
Looking at the drawing here, the residential entrance is in the front of the building?
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay, so the people are gonna park on the side of the street, on the side, carry all their groceries in, bring them to the front of the building. Aren't they gonna be parking their cars probably out on the street, going to the front, running them up the stairs, rather than carrying their groceries all the way along the length of the building to the front of the building?
They may, and then go back to the parking lot and park their car.
And then what about package deliveries, Amazon, all that? Where are they gonna come in?
They would come in the same area. We have a little vestibule down there that would be large enough to put like a shelving unit for package deliveries.
So is that gonna be a buzzed-in area, or so how would the Amazon get in there if that's, is it gonna be a key? Is it gonna be locked? Is the vestibule gonna be open to the public?
Candidly, we haven't gotten that far in the discussion, but I think you bring up a good point. I would think that we would have card access on the elevator. So, and that, by the way, the way we've designed this building is we've got separate elevators for the child care center and
Yep.
for the residential, so that we don't mix. It's a safety issue for the children, and we have separate stairs as well. So the use of residential, even though some of the people may be living in the facility, may work in the center, they have separate entrances. So I would think that the door during kind of daylight hours is unlocked, and in the evenings it locks electronically, and we,
Okay, I just see that being a problem with deliveries coming to the front, parking on the side. I think the residential people are gonna have a problem getting things in the building. It just,
yeah.
having that door way up front
Yeah. I mean,
is-
I'll tell you what, my kids live in an apartment building, actually much larger than this, and they have a cart that they keep in their car, and they use it for bring groceries in and out.
and where would you keep the car in the building?
You keep it in your apartment. These are very, yeah, it folds up, and these are really generous apartments.
Okay.
You know, we have, for example, two-bedroom units that are 1,500 square feet, where, generally in the rental community, you'll see a two-bedroom apartment could be as small as 1,000 square feet or less. We don't have a big building with a lot of amenities like a gym or co-working space, which are similar to projects that I've had experience designing. So we've oversized these units as a result of that. So there's plenty of room for storage in these units.
Okay. The transformer, where's the transformer going on the site? I didn't see that.
I don't think we know yet. It presumably would go on site. I know.
So it looks like it looks like if you go to the site plan, it looks like you're hugging one side of the property line. So you're gonna have to go in the back, I would assume?
I would think we'd either go in the back, or it could potentially be pole mounted. Generally what happens is we start a conversation with the utility company. If we're fortunate enough for you to approve the project, we submit to them a load study about what
I'm
we
an
have.
electrician, I get that.
Okay, so so they assign an engineer, and we start working.
But I think a building of this size, without doing a load calculation myself, they're gonna make you put a transformer, so you're probably considering you're gonna have a parking lot coming in.
It'd
You're gonna
probably
have
be
no
next
choice but to
next
put it
the
in the back.
trash. Yeah, I agree.
And the trash is gonna be where located?
Also in the back of the parking lot. So you can see it, and I'm sorry, the
Right
point.
smack in the middle there?
Yes, that is correct, yeah. Thank you
Okay.
for whoever pointed that out.
So with regards to snow removal in this parking lot, not gonna be able to push it right back because you're gonna block the entrance to your trash, right? So what are you gonna do with your extra snow?
There's, on, we'll say, plan left there's a significant, kind of amount of grass there. I think that, if I can read that dimension, is about 12 feet, yeah, that you could push and store snow there.
Okay. Because we do have good, I know your owner's from Virginia, he's not used to snow.
Oh, I'm from
but
New
we
Jer-
get-
I'm from New
We get a lot of
Jersey.
snow up here. This was a
Yeah.
good winter, so
Yeah,
we
you-
had some good
yeah.
snow, so.
I-
Is there
I-
gonna be a plan in place to have the snow removed off here if we need to?
If
Because
it
you do
needs
have
to,
a
yeah.
building right next door to that.
If it needs to be removed off-site, it obviously will have to be removed off-site.
Okay. And what about exterior parking lights? What are you having for lights?
I'm going to let civil engineer answer that.
Yeah, so we, if you look at the plan, you can see, and actually, I believe our lighting plan is part of this slide deck. Yeah, so this is our photometrics plan. So you can see on the left side there, we have 2 pole-mounted fixtures,
Yep.
fully cut off, dark sky compliant fixtures. And then there's a handful of building lights surrounding the building, some on that left side that will kind of assist in lighting that parking area along with those pole-mounted fixtures.
Okay, while you're up here, since you mentioned the pool, I would like to know when you talk to the plumber or whatever, where the pool water is going to be discharged.
Sure. Yeah, I know, I can tell you confidently, it doesn't go to stormwater, so, I mean, I would, again, I'll
Don't assume.
confirm this, but.
Don't assume.
Yeah, I believe it does go to the
Okay,
sanitary.
well, I would like an
sources.
answer.
Sure.
So, okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Does anyone else have any question from the board? Does anyone in the audience like to speak on this project? In the back?
David Parsons, 99 Columbia Street, across the street from the site. I read the traffic plan that was provided, and I disagree with having left turn only exit off the property. I think that directing all that traffic towards Center Street is going to cause backups with Dunkin' Donuts in the morning and the afternoon. Having the option to turn right and diffuse through the neighborhood, I think, will be a good thing, because trying to get off Columbia Street onto Center Street at rush hour can be a nightmare, especially if you're turning left. That backs up past the light, and not everyone is going to be coming from Center Street to go to this facility. They're going to be coming from the neighborhood, from down Liberty Street. So being able to go back out there, I think, is a good idea. So that's all.
Okay, thank you. Is the council here? Does the council want to speak on behalf of this matter? Good evening, council.
Good evening, board members. Right, just for the record, my name's Virginia Ryan. I'm Ward 4 City Councilor, and I am here on the 90 Columbia Street project. First, I would like a clarification on the pool discharge, whether it's going to go into the MWRA system, because that's not allowed, from what I understand. Secondly, I would respectfully request an extension on public comment till June 30th. The developer has come up with several changes, which has required further review from the residents. One of these changes may affect current residents' quality of life with regards to traffic. The number of calls and emails that I receive from Ward 4, West Quincy residents are traffic. And having this facility in this area and we all know it's going to increase the traffic. And it's going to make going to the store, going to the doctors a lot harder. So I would respectfully request that we definitely review the traffic studies that have been completed in depth. Another object that I have with regards to the traffic study is they're comparing the 2 sites, one in Franklin, which is a population of 36,000. That's not a very good comparison with the city of Quincy. We have over 100,000 people here. Natick has a population of 38,000. That's not a very good comparison. When you're talking about traffic coming in and traffic coming out, you've got Dunkin' Donuts around the corner. It is going to increase the traffic exponentially. And that doesn't even include the fact that we know that there are going to be other developments coming up in the area. So again, I would respectfully request an extension on public comment until June 30th. Thank you.
Thank you, council. This is a public hearing. Does anyone else wish to speak on the matter? Does anyone else wish to speak on this matter? Okay, being none, the council has asked for an extension. What's the wishes of the board?
I would say let's extend it. if the council
Oh, sorry, recognize,
No.
sorry.
Nope, I'm just here. Please, go ahead.
Are you looking for me to,
Yes, sir.
I would like to extend this matter until, the council's asked until June 30th?
June 10th. June 10th.
Oh, June 10th you asked for?
June 30th.
She asked
Well,
for
the-
June 30th.
I think June 10th is the next meeting.
10th
I don't
is
know
the
if
next
that's
meeting.
what you meant, but, or what she meant. But
Right?
Well, I think she probably meant to say June 30th, and you guys are probably saying it's June 10th,
Wait.
because that's when the next meeting is. So what is?
Wait, hang
what
on,
is- What do we do?
hang on 1 second. We have, the council, the next planning board meeting is June 10th. So, and then we go into summer recess. So it would have to be at the next meeting. Has to be at the next meeting. So it would be the June 10th meeting.
Can you hear that, Counselor?
I can, I'm down here, but I can hear.
Okay. So then I'm not gonna say June 30th, I don't want you to be mad at me or anything.
Oh, I won't get mad at you, Mr. Sean.
Okay, yeah. So I would make a motion then that we extend this until the June 10th meeting, please.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that?
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll see you on June 10th.
thank you.
That's June 10th, not June 30th.
Bring your swimmies.
All right.
Thank you very much, you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, everything's good. Thank you very much. You were here for that meeting, yeah? Yeah, that's clear. Maureen Claire, yeah? Thank you very much. Yep.
All right. Can I have attention, please? The next order of business is a hello, everyone. Hello. Please, this is a public meeting. I need to hear everyone. This next is a public hearing on 33 Victoria Road, Planning Board Case Number 202601. You guys have the floor.
I think it's Victory Road, I think.
Did I say 33 Victory Road?
333, isn't it?
333 Victory Road.
Maybe
I
there was a
apologize.
30 Victoria.
Is your wife named Victoria?
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Attorney Steve Gard for Safe Harbor Marinas, the applicant tonight. As you know, this is a continued public...
Hey,
Sure, we'll just hang out while they get themselves together, I guess.
guys, the public hearing's going to go. Go ahead, Counselor,
Thank you.
please. People in the audience, please keep it down, or you're going to have to go out in the hallway. Thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Again, Attorney Steve Gard for Safe Harbor Marinas, the applicant before you this evening, as was read by the Vice Chair, that this is a continued public hearing, and the last time we were here, we got some feedback relative to various aspects of the project. With me this evening is Paul Bilio, our architect, Sean Papich, our landscape architect, and of course Dana Altabello from Merrill Engineering, our site engineer, professional engineer. Since we last spoke, we have filed a more robust landscape plan for you to review. We have made changes to the skipper's lot to allow for a better flow for pedestrian traffic within that lot. We've continued the sidewalk loop all the way around the entire perimeter of the skipper's lot out front. We have also made some revisions to we've submitted a photometric plan as well, and we have, again, updated the landscape plan with the pre-planting schedule as well. So with that, I will turn it over to our civil engineer, Dana Altabello, to bring you up to speed on the plan changes that have been made since the last time we met.
Good evening. My name is Dana Altabello. I'm with Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. Just a quick overview on the site. The entire property is comprised of approximately 83.9 acres. There are two areas, or two project areas within the property. One is the skipper's lot, which Steve mentioned earlier, and one is the more inland parking area, which is known as the surplus lot. It's worth noting that the impervious area within each one of these project area locations will be reduced by over 10,000 square feet of impervious area in pavement for each location. The total impervious area for the site will be reduced by over 20,000 square feet in total on the entire lot. Excuse me. Since the last hearing, we've worked with the board's peer review consultant, and we've addressed all of their comments. We've also provided responses to comments received from the DPW as well as the city's traffic department. Site plans have been revised to address all of these comments received, and some of the more notable changes are as follows. As Steve mentioned, there is a sidewalk which has been added on the easterly side of the parking lot, which connects the existing sidewalk system within the lot to the pedestrian walkway which runs along the top of the screen there, adjacent to the water. There's also been an access aisle that runs through the center of the lot, which, as Steve mentioned, connects all of the parking areas to the boardwalk, pedestrian walkway area, and the dock system that's existing in that area as well. A dumpster area has been shown to the right-hand, top right-hand part of the parking area, adjacent to bio retention area number 1. And as Steve mentioned, we have submitted photometric plans, and we have shown snow storage areas up to the top of the lot in that area that's green, and then in the bottom of the lot where the existing pavement has been removed in several spots, that'll provide good snow storage area as well. As we move into the surplus lot, excuse me, additional information has been added for the site utilities. We've provided a transformer and a generator in the northwest corner of the lot along the Hall Road. We've also provided gas connections, sewer and water connections on the southerly side of the lot, or building itself. We have provided photometric plans as well for this lot, and snow storage areas have been provided. A lot of the areas that are in green on the site will be used and utilized as snow storage areas. All of the proposed infiltration systems that are shown in both the surplus lot and the skipper's lot have been increased in volume and capacity to contain the entirety of the 2, 10, and 25-year storm events, and that will be providing substantial increases in recharge over what's out there currently. Currently, there's really no stormwater management system on either site. The water just kind of flows directly out of the site with no treatment or infiltration itself. And lastly, we've eliminated on the surplus lot, we've eliminated the third retention area, which was in the southwesterly corner of the lot. It's just awfully tight down there with an existing easement that runs through there. So we've replaced that with a water quality unit to provide the pretreatment prior to discharge into the subsurface infiltration systems. Just as a couple general updates, a traffic assessment memo has been prepared by Howard, Stein, and Hudson, and that has been submitted. And lastly, there have been updated architecture plans, landscape architecture plans, I'm sorry, that have been submitted for both locations, and they've been prepared by Sean Papich, Landscape Architecture. I can let Sean go into more detail on that.
Dean, one last thing before you jump off, just run down these changes and how they affected the parking space, run number of parking spaces.
Oh, sure. So we have mostly in the skipper's lot, as I mentioned, we did add some access aisles on the end there, and we added this sidewalk over here, which pushed the parking area this way. So in total, we lost 9 parking spaces in that area, in this lot. So we've reduced the overall parking count on the property, but it's only by 9 total spaces. So it's not a huge impact, and we are well over the minimum parking, per the zoning bylaw calculations.
Still adding spaces.
We're still adding a substantial number. At a minimum, we need 499 spaces, and we're providing 609 parking spaces still, even with the reduction. But I can turn this over to Sean Papich, so we can discuss the landscape architecture.
Yeah, get at the landscape plan if we can. My name's Sean Papich, Landscape Architecture, 222 North Street, Hingham, Massachusetts. We'll get the landscape plan up in a second here, hopefully. We'll involve that.
Thanks, John. Is Joe working on that?
Should be. You have this. What I can do. should have it, but in the short term, I don't know.
I got it.
Couple of hard copies.
Thank you.
And show both the skippers down. and surplus lot.
Excuse me, is that plan that you gave to the board gonna be showed up there on the screen?
We're hoping it is.
Let me see if I can.
If you want to begin,
I can.
Joe might try to lift something
Okay,
up.
as long as that works for you. Okay. Essentially, if we want to talk about the skipper's lot, which is what was discussed first earlier, the intent there on the landscape plan was to get some plantings to the edges, essentially the buffer, both on that kind of south side and the north side, as well as in the islands. One of the paramount issues on a property like this is being able to preserve the view for the folks that are on the south side of this parking lot. And so while we still planted up these planting islands heavily with very, hardy and native plant material, you can see that plant list there. I probably don't have to recite it all, but it's all the usual suspects you'd find in a coastal setting. One of the challenges is trying to get some trees in here without blocking the view. So we didn't. We got some ornamental size trees, understory size trees that we have in multiple islands, but we did not put shade trees until you get to the far east side of the parking area. And we get the far east side of the parking area, you're kind of out of that view corridor for the properties right behind them to the south. So you can see some red maple trees that we placed there on the far right-hand side and some of those drawings that you have on your desks. Otherwise, we went to hardy crabapple trees. There's a fruitless crabapple, by the way. Very, very hardy tree. As an understory tree, crabapple is probably the most hardy tree we can find in New England, oddly enough. All the other plant material we layered in, all of our favorites, inkberry, switchgrass, low-scape chokeberry, so hitting all the natives, very hardy, drought-tolerant plants. And that's really the intent, to supply the islands with the plant material, parking islands, and the buffer to the edges with the hardiest plant material we can, knowing that this climate's a challenging one, especially along the water. Also, the other thing we did on the north side of the parking lot, in that green space between the water and the parking lot, we used a drought-tolerant fescue mix on the lawn. We did do blocks of planting, essentially, with very hardy limelight hydrangeas, switchgrass, as well as Rosa virginiana, another native. We're not using Rosa rugosa like has been used for decades and decades. It's an invasive plant. We do not use that. We utilized Rosa virginiana. We did have to leave some blocks open for the snowdrop area, so you can kind of see those there on that plan. And hopefully some folks will see that soon. I'll come back to that when we can. I can go to the surplus lot if you'd like me to do that. Treatment of the surplus lot is also a little interesting because of the nature of the facility. Intent is to retain all the trees that we have that are existing along the perimeter, which is what we did, along Victory Road and as it gets off onto the other Hall Road. Not a lot of trees up there on Commander Shea, so we're proposing to plant red maple trees, some of our hardiest street trees, essentially. Also drought-tolerant lawn in that area, seed mix, using that as almost a street tree approach and a buffer to the building and a buffer to the site along Commander Shea. We did do an entry kind of treatment as you get in, coming into the main driveway. And in that entry, we're using very hardy upright juniper, serviceberry trees, also a native, very hardy plant. It doesn't look like it would be hardy, extremely hardy plant material. Also using Grollo sumac, don't be afraid by the word of sumac. It's just a low fragrant sumac, almost a tall ground cover. As well as, again, limelight hydrangea also sounds like it'd be delicate. It's not. It's one of the toughest plants we can find. So it's also very showy. We use viburnum also. Up against the building, the idea there is to kind of soften that a little bit. So we use a lot of upright juniper. We even use some of the western arborvitaes, inkberry, more serviceberry, some of the Armstrong red maples that happen to be columnar plant material. As you get to the, what's considered the south, I suppose, near the condo building, we heavied up that buffer with plant material, upright evergreens in the form of arborvitae, western arborvitae types, also using disease-resistant elms in some of these islands that are also along the edges of the property, and more red maple. We go back to that where we can. Inside some of the islands, we use switchgrass, some of the Chinese juniper that are extremely hardy. It covers a lot of the plant material we use and the intent for it. Maybe I'll come back when we get our plan, if you want me to do that. I think that's better. Yes.
Can you just summarize how many trees were added to the site
Choose a site, thank you.
by way of this plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see, on the Skipper's Lot, we are adding, let me get you there. I've got a summary of it, but I think I want to look at the plan list. Skipper's Lot, we're actually adding 12 trees to the property. On the surplus lot, we're actually adding more along the lines of 68 trees. So it's a substantial, about 80 trees overall for both properties of varying sizes, varying types. Well, that's an interesting take on it, but hopefully you can see it. We do have some color renderings. This should kind of suffice. For some reason it's not transferring over. You can kind of see it there. That's the Skipper's Lot. You can make out, I think, some of the islands that we have there and some of the circles that we have for the plants. There we go.
Sir, please.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Sir, please sit down.
That's it right there. We'll get there. We'll get the surplus lot, but this is Skipper's Lot. So you can see some of the masking of the plant material to the south side, done in layers, strong, heavy layers. Of the snowdrop areas to the north side, so we left those a little more open, but with drought-tolerant lawn, fescue mix. You can see the other swaths of planting up there, densely planted, as well as the bioretention area will be planted with a native seed mix, as well as some Virginia sweet spire, also another very, very hardy plant that we use in coastal settings. Bayberry, beach plum, all plants that stay sizes that do not get to the shade tree size because of the view that we're trying to leave open from the south. We can go to the surplus lot if you want to do that. Sounds like we've got some fans of the surplus lot tonight. As discussed before, up on Commander Shea Boulevard, red maple tree is kind of acting as a buffer, but also is almost a street tree along there. Commander Shea, the entry feature, upright junipers, serviceberry, viburnums, hardy limelight hydrangeas, low Grollo sumac, so very, very hardy plant material in every case, every step of the way. Inkberry also another native. So tending to lean toward the natives or slight cultivars of natives where we have to for availability, for hardiness in certain settings, as well as a substantial amount of planting along that south border to the condo building. There is existing plant material on the other property too. And you can see we bordered the edge of the building. Those are upright evergreens. You see the smaller circles that are kind of regimented in their positioning. Those are actually upright vertical junipers that should soften the building. Other upright trees both on the front and the back of the building, the north and the south of the building. Existing trees down along Victory Road are retained. No trees really to be removed. That's kind of our summary there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, folks. Paul Bollier with Main Street Architects. We're back here to show you the revision drawings based on comments and feedback we received last time. This is a floor plan of the current proposed building. There's a 2D elevations of the building, which I'll get into more detail, but we did some changes and some alterations based on the feedback. And these are other 2D elevations shown in each direction. And we tried to locate each direction based north, east, southwest, just try to make it easy for everybody related to the site plan. These are the 3D renderings. So just getting into the 3D renderings, one of the things that came up last time was just a big blue building. How can we soften this? How can we kind of blend it back into the neighborhood? So we looked at a few different things. Obviously, it's boat repair. They're doing certain mechanic work in there. So introduction of glass was obviously key. We wanted to try to add more windows, but we had limitations within where we could kind of add them as well. So we worked the best we could to get natural light and windows around this. We also softened the color by working through different color palettes of what we could do that would maybe be better with the neighborhood, still trying to keep some of their own kind of style of branding as well. I think this kind of shows both of that. We also worked with doing some decorative louvers. Some of them will actually help because it would hide what would be a mechanical louver. Neighborhood won't see that. It will be decorative in style. Some of them will truly just be decorative that at this point we're putting up for that sake. Also, the other part we did is we tried to dress up the entry, and that was a collaboration effort between us, civil engineer and landscape architect. We had talked before about all the fence that was there and how can we kind of open that up and make it more visible. So you'll see as I go into the streetscapes how we did that. We had proposed more of kind of like your typical warehouse umbrella awning material over the doors. We've now swapped that out to a manufactured, kind of sleek, modern, flat awning, and it has the turnbuckles that go back to the building that will match in, kind of dresses up each area. We dressed up the entrance with more of a storefront entry rather than just metal door. So we tried to kind of work within those types of areas that you can with a metal building to kind of doll it up. And then the biggest thing that I think came up last time was how does it relate to the neighborhood and how can we best show that? Obviously, with what we have now, there's a way to produce streetscapes. So what we do is we go out, we take pictures, work with Google Earth, work with what's there now, and then work with the designers of what the future is going to be, what the landscape's going to look like, what the entrance might be, where the fences are going to stop. So this was a depiction of where each one is kind of set up from and what it's showing to try to take the comments and what the changes were and implement it to real life as best as we can. Having said that, we're all here to answer any questions, and I'm sure Joe can share each one as the questions come up for specific trade.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the board have a question?
I'll let somebody take it first. If you want to have anything, PJ?
If I may, I'm sorry. Just want to confirm, I think in the surplus lot, with the bioretention area and the subsurface infiltration that's in the parking area, those are new? Those are being added to the, I think. Those being, I don't think they're there today.
They're not there today. They were proposed last time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That-
Yeah, so they were on the plan, but they're not there currently.
There is no slope.
That's correct.
That's why I was asking. Both of those are gonna help. And looking at the scale, we're approximately 35 feet from Commander Shea to the building, and you have your new landscape buffer along there.
Yes.
Okay, my main question, Mr. Chairman, was just on those retention areas down there. So thank you for answering that.
Okay, thank you.
The,
Member Shaughnessy?
Yep, what Member Foley was just mentioning along Commander Shea Boulevard, and how you're having a buffer zone with the landscaping, and you just showed a picture of what looked like fencing there? Was that, can we look at the picture on Commander Shea Boulevard again? Yeah, so on the, is that white fence, that white fencing there, is that a vinyl fence, or is that,
That fence, Mr. Shaughnessy, is on Victory Road.
That's
The
on Victory
black fence
Road,
on the
okay.
right side, on the right picture, that's on Commander Shea.
the black one is on Commander Shea?
Yeah.
So is that a solid fence, or is it gonna be like that material that's flies every day that when I drive past it like this and looks like crap?
I think it's a slatted fence, not the fabric material. It's a chain link slatted fence. So it won't be
Because the
material.
one that's up there now looks bad,
Yeah,
and it has been for a long time.
we are aware.
I mean, you've had plenty of time to make it look better, but it doesn't look so good right now. So, and this one is on Victory Road.
The white vinyl is on
That's the
Victory
white
Road.
vinyl, that's a solid
Yes.
vinyl fence? That's an attractive-looking fence.
Yes.
You don't want to do an attractive-looking fence on the other side?
Well, we did an attractive-looking fence between the surplus lot and the building, and it was $58,000. So we're trying to figure out how to budget for those things. But, so on Commander Shea, where it's the more industrial side, and it's not really facing the residential side, which is Victory Road, and then, of course, the separation between us and the Atlantic condos, you know, there's a residential visual aspect to it. So we were thinking that this fence would be adequate for that area, especially.
Well, I'll give you that. It's more, it doesn't have as many residents along there, but
Yeah.
it's still an entrance to, you know, what, the people that live down there and the people that go down there and visit, and, you know, visually, it's appealing if it looks nice, and
Sure.
you know what I mean? So,
I agree.
it just, you know, and then, if you don't mind, so I understand this a little bit, if we go to the
course.
skipper's lot, please, on the skipper's lot, so there's,
I feel really bad. We didn't put all of these in one file for Joe, so our tiles are in different files, and that was my fault.
don't
We
feel
didn't-
bad, Joe gets abused all the time by us.
No, that is not my intention. I want to apologize to Joe and thank him for being patient with us, so.
So the different colors that, my question is kind of more like a comment. So the different color that represents, like the lighter tan going into the parking lot, where you've changed the direction of the car placement, which I guess is so you can get more cars in there. That's a pretty good idea. And I guess, are these little islands in the middle there, that the little striped, what are these little,
Oh, I see what you're saying. So some of them are the parking islands, the green, like green ones?
this, like, on this drawing right here, you see you got like these little, what are these things?
Oh, okay, yeah, good question. So when in our discussions with the planning department, it was brought to our attention that it was going to be very difficult for people coming up the gangway from the boats to have to go left or right when they carry in their bags or they have dock carts.
Okay.
So one of the people that use this parking lot frequently suggested we really need a pedestrian aisle in the middle. So it's right directly opposite one of our gangways to the most populated section of the marina. So when people come up, they can bring their dock carts with their trash and groceries or whatever, and they can go into the parking lot, then they can go left and right to their car. Otherwise, they would have to walk all the way around to that opening there or the bioretention pond area to get to their car if they were.
So that's like a passage, pedestrian passage?
It is, yeah.
So maybe next to that, you could, almost like you're going into the Stop and Shop parking lot, so they don't have to, like, take their, I have experience with this, obviously.
Well, I know where you're headed.
They
I
have
think
to
I
take
gotta-
their dock cart and walk it back, you know, to Archie's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, on top of that, you can't really see it on these plans, but we decided that on either side of the pedestrian walkway, we were gonna do drop-off spaces. So it's like a 10-minute drop-off. You can get there, get your stuff out, put it in the dock cart, then go park and come back. That was actually the city planner's idea, by the way.
Okay, and now the color difference between, so is this kind of telling us that the color that's tan, that's owned and controlled by you guys? Is that correct? See, like the white part where you drive in, so I go past, you know, Port 305, you bear to the left, then you go to the right into your lot, while you go straight ahead and you'll drive into the.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so
I see what you're saying.
So where do you own, where that tan part is there?
Where the gray part on the picture up here, it's more gray up
okay,
there.
all
It's
right.
more gray up there. That's what we own and control, correct?
So that'd be the part that has a lot of potholes in it now that breaks ankles, is that the part that you're referring to?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I hate to pick on you like this, but I'm gonna anyhow.
I can take it. I
Okay,
can
so that's
take it.
good, right? That's why we're up here, right? So that we can Best part about this is I'm not gonna get elected again or anything, so they can't. Right? So I can kind of say what I want to say, so you haven't demonstrated, honestly, like being such a good neighbor, that you're walking in, you know what I mean? If I was an attorney, I'd go out there and I'd purposely fall, you know what I mean?
Well, you would want someone to fall.
Well,
on your
and
behalf.
then watch me,
Then you
yes,
could- yes,
exactly.
yeah, if you-
So I'm suggesting to you that perhaps even before you do any of this, you fix the parking lot in front of it.
Well, I will admit that we can do a better job on the potholes.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear.
We can do a better job, and we will try to do a better job.
Yeah.
We expect to, you know, if you folks see fit to give this an approval, we expect to get this going very quickly, to get that parking lot renovated soon, very soon.
So the part that's white behind what would be the shanty and stuff like that, that's not owned by you guys?
Behind the shanty,
Behind, see the ocean, Dorchester Bay?
that's that's water.
No, he's
No,
saying, but the
no,
shanty and the...
there's, oh, you have a green up there. No, good,
Yeah,
keep
green
going,
up
there
there.
there you go.
Yeah.
See the green part behind the yellow building there?
We
Going
own
to the
that.
Dorchester
We
Bay?
own that. Yeah,
The green part?
yeah, that's us.
So why isn't it this, it doesn't say that this is anything? Like, it doesn't say like, we're gonna eventually put a 50-story building here or
Well,
tennis
so
courts or anything like that?
That's a good question. It's not part of this proposal. Any
Yeah.
work done on that green side over there, we're just showing it as grass, but it's not part of the proposal. The proposal is focused on the parking lot and the walkways around it. But you bring up a good point. We do have another program, another proposal that we
Yeah.
just submitted some concept plans to the planning department for an initial informal review to renovate the admin building, which is where the shanty is.
Yeah.
The shanty's not going anywhere. We're gonna keep it, so nobody has to panic about that.
Great steak
but-
tips, great
but-
steak tips.
Yeah, but we are, that building is in dire need of repair, and it's most likely gonna be a very detailed renovation. It's not gonna be a tear down, raise and reconstruct, but it's gonna be a pretty big renovation. That area in front of the building is going to become a members amenities area with a patio and things like that. But that's all part of a different proposal that we're not here tonight for. We focused only on the parking lot component because we want to have that established before we come back with the admin, or what we call the amenities building. And trying, just so everybody's clear, trying to do all this stuff at once with a company as big as we are, it's not easy. These are tens of millions of dollars projects, so we kind of have to do it, bite the elephant one bite at a time, so.
So I guess the 58 grand on a fence on a tens of millions of dollars worth of a project isn't all that much, really.
No, it's not in retrospect.
No.
But in their defense, I mean, I am their lawyer, we
Yeah.
could have put a less expensive fence up.
Okay.
But we didn't.
I'm not gonna let you get away yet, though, because
went off-
my
we went
biggest
Hollywood.
peeve last time, and I kind of know the answer already, because I went down there today and I don't see it there yet, is that you guys were gonna come up with, and I'm sure you're gonna have a floating bathrooms on the west side of the marina to take care of the 36 rental boats, the 14 sailing boats for Thayer, the 60 slips that are empty so that people don't have to keep going up to Victory Point, Port 305 to use the bathrooms. Now, as you know, Memorial Day is about 10 days away. And we don't want to see the bathrooms go in there on Labor Day, because that'd be kind of a waste of time, wouldn't it,
Nope.
right?
Yep.
So when do you think we're going to see the bathrooms there? And I want to hear it on the record, so I
Yep,
can.
it's been ordered, we own it, it's another 50.
You've been ordered. It's been ordered.
and
Well, they
how-
order
when do you
Christmas
think-
gifts too, and they come at Christmas, so
No,
when's it
no,
going to get there?
These things aren't, you have to get one that can go on a float. It's definitely not something you call the porta potty guy and he brings them down. These are complicated bathrooms that have, it's complicated. So Tyler, when do you think it'll be here?
Hi, Tyler, how
Come on
are you?
up.
Come on up.
Tyler Miller, Safe
Yeah.
Harbor Marinas.
Yeah.
Yes, we are very aware of that. We have ordered a bathroom trailer for that, as he said. Getting one that would be big enough to handle what Freedom Boat Club and the rentals needed, as well as light enough to be able to fit onto a dock, and also build a dock that's strong enough to hold it, which would allow us to also get it in and out of there when we need to pump it out, was all moving parts. Our expectation is to have the bathroom next week. Our goal is to have it Memorial Day weekend. Latest, I would say, if something went wrong with the delivery or anything along those lines, first week in June, we'll have it in there.
Thank you. I appreciate you telling me honestly when you're going to have it there.
Two other points.
Please.
One, for this parking lot, this is not a reshape and leave as is. This is gonna be a refurbish and repave and restripe. So we know potholes, like that's something we'll be dealing with this week and next week before Memorial Day weekend, getting that filled up. And then the cloth lining along that backside that's blown around, that will get replaced as well this year. We're just waiting to get through winter because it gets torn up in the wintertime. So I will say mid-June, we'll have that replaced for you as well.
I'm not trying to pick on you,
No,
Tom,
no, I
okay?
know. And there, and
Yeah.
it's a big property. We have a ton of stuff going on right now,
Right.
getting boats in. That's the focus, is getting the boats in the water. But after that, we will have all that other stuff.
You know, it's a beautiful community. We're all very proud of this down here, and you guys are part of that community. I mean, you weren't there when it all started, but that's okay.
Yep.
And so everybody there's a lot of people that are gonna speak for and against this. Just understand that you can come in and spend millions of dollars, right? But if you don't have the personality and the drive to make it like be nice, because you can put something really nice there and spend a lot of money, but if it doesn't really like fit in, or if it like, you've dressed it up some, as I think I said last time, take the ugliness out of it, and I think that Main Street has taken the ugliness out of that. That was pretty ugly last time.
Yeah, and that's what when we do those buildings, and that was how we came with that color scheme, is a lot of times when a building is super visual, they go with a color that tries to blend with the sky in the summertime. That, with this building and it not being as out in the open, we realized we could kind of, tone that down, get it more fitting for the neighborhood. And that's also why the biggest increase in the landscape, like this is gonna be one of the, most landscaped service buildings that we have, and that was with the understanding of, I've been at Marina Bay for 10 years, this is my 10th year there. I'm from Quincy, local to the neighborhood, I know a lot of the neighbors, we work a lot with the businesses. That is part of what we've kind of developed here, is to make this fit, that also allows us to do our jobs and do it safely and environmentally friendly for the local community.
I want it to be successful, I want it to fit, don't misread me, I'm all for it,
Yeah,
in
no.
the sense that it's good for business, I want it to be good for the community too, and I appreciate that you guys have taken the time and changing things, and Mr. Kelly, I'm sure you have some stuff you want to ask too.
Does anyone else? Abby?
Well, I wanted to maybe just follow up with Tyler's point, and
Tyler, don't go away.
I hope everybody understands that this is not, like, to his point, it's not a repaint. This is a full re-asphalt right down to the base, and this isn't, this is a full redo of the parking lot. It's not just, we're gonna restripe it to get more cars in there at all. No.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
same thing with that walkway, is a lot of our neighbors use that walkway, it's in rough shape right now.
Yeah.
And that was what adding the parking lot, or adding the sidewalk along the other end there, is it now creates a walking path all the way around the property, which everybody gets to use, and it's an area that we know, as a marina company, our focus has been a lot on the marina, getting the docks ready, and we've done that over the last 10 years, so our focus now is moving to the upland area, the neighborhood, the local community, and that's what these next couple projects you're gonna see address.
Okay. Couple questions for you. If this project's approved, do you have a general contractor in mind?
We do.
We do. Does this general contractor like to hire local men and women from the city of Quincy?
They have an office in Quincy.
Okay, because Marina Bay is a very focal point to the city of Quincy.
Yep.
If it is approved, the men and women of the city of Quincy would love to work on a project of this magnitude. So please keep that in mind if it's approved. That's the only thing I have for you as the owner, so thank you, I appreciate that. A couple other questions, though. Up at the surplus lot, are we going with a transformer into the building? Are we going overhead? How's the service coming into the building? Do we know yet?
It's gonna be a transformer underground, because we're moving.
Underground? Okay.
Yeah, we have to move the big boats in and out of there, so we'd never be able to deal with overhead wires. We gotta go underground.
Okay. And then, what about the exterior lighting? How, do we have a lighting plan for the exterior lights? I mean.
We did, yeah, we did submit a lighting plan for Joe, and it was, done by the lighting company. And
Okay.
it shows that they're all hooded, downcast,
But we have ample light out there, and it's not gonna
Yeah.
go into the neighbors and all that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
It
right.
was done by the electrical engineer for that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing, so if anyone would like to speak on the matter, the gentleman right here, please stand up and state your name.
Good evening. My name is Donato Ferraroli. I reside at 332 Victory Road in Marina Bay. And I've been there, I own the restaurant there. I've been there for the past 7 years. My experience has been over the years if you open up a coffee shop and you have 15 seats, they require you to have public bathrooms, ADA accessible. Also, they require you to have enough parking for the customers that come in. That's not what's happening right now down Marina Bay. I've been asking for the past 4 years to address this issue for the public bathrooms. When 1 year came out the other one. Until I got a phone call today, we're gonna do it. I said, why don't you send me an email confirming that you're going to do it? I never received the email. I have people going in and out of my building. They take the elevator, they go second, third floor to use the bathrooms. We doing the restaurant over because of a flood. People are walking in through the construction. Oh, they told us down the dogs to come in here and use the bathrooms. Nothing's been done. Also, people that we have charter boats, we have, I think, 30 or 40 rental boats that come in every day. They park everywhere. They leave. Lately, they've been good with the trash. But something needs to be done about it. And the other thing that I like to say, I don't object anybody, any multi-million-dollar companies to do anything. I hope they employ a lot of people from the area. But I have an easement for 50 parking spaces. I've been asking, where are my parking spaces are going to be located when this project is completed? The parking spaces are supposed to be, according to my easement, within 100 yards from the restaurant. And I think the last time I was here, I submitted a copy to you. You should have it on file. I hope they will address these things at the earliest. It's going to be a busy summer. I'm not a multi-million-dollar company like them. I'm a little guy trying to make a living. So please consider what I asked. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you wanted to speak over there?
I did, yes. My name is Tom Concanon. I live at 10 Seaport Drive. I'm on the board there. And I just had a comment to the gentleman behind me on the landscape plan. He specifically said that they were going to put in low trees down at the skipper's lot to preserve the view. Okay? We're going to be living right next door, and they're going to put up a 50-foot tall building. Even if it gets softened with trees, where's our view? You address the view down there, but you don't address the view for the monstrosity that's going to go in next to us. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak on this matter? No, ma'am, right there.
Hi, my name is Carrie McDonough, and I am a resident of the Marina at 10 Seaport Drive. And forgive my ignorance, this is the first time I've ever been involved in something like this, a project like this. And to me, it sounds like it's not if it gets approved, it's when it gets approved. And I just don't know how, you know, it sounds like there's been a lot of work and time put into this, and I'm just wondering, you know, how does this work? Like, it sounds to me like it is a done deal. I don't know if you can answer that. I don't know how it works, but.
It's a public hearing, ma'am. We have a public hearing. People come up and speak on it. They give their presentation, and then it goes from there.
Okay. So that being said, if the building is put up in the adjacent lot, in the area where there are spots for cars, we actually see boats there now, which is absolutely beautiful. Are we going to be able to see the boats again, or are they all going to be within this building? Do we know?
There will be outside storage of boats as well.
Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin O'Keefe. I live at 10 Seaport Drive for over 7 years now. I've had the chance to keep an eye on the boatyard for several years. My son actually worked for South Marina with Kyle and his group down at the boatyard, so I'm familiar with it. And I'm going to read this because I don't want to miss any points, please. My name is Kevin O'Keefe. I live at the Atlantic at the boatyard, and it's filled with abandoned boats that look like a junkyard. Safe Harbor is storing all the derelict boats together in the corner next to the Atlantic property, which...
Sir, please stay at the microphone, sir. Please stay up.
Can I show some graphics?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't?
You go ahead, go show us on the screen if you want.
Well, here it is here, where here's our property in yellow, the Atlantics, and all the derelict boats are now stored in the corner right next to the Atlantic property along the fence. I've watched these boats come in. I've seen them. They're derelict boats that have been in there. So they look terrible. You're in the Atlantic. You're seeing, I sent pictures to your whole team this morning before the 12 o'clock deadline. So you can see pictures of the derelict boats, all the garbage from all the boat maintenance and the shrink wrapping work that gets done every winter and every summer that never, ever, ever gets cleaned up in the boatyard maintenance area. I have walked the ground because it is public. I've taken photos and videos of it. It's disgusting. So these boats are here. These are all derelict boats. And what we heard from the attorney was they're in probate. We can't move them. It's a long process. Okay, fine. Not the Atlantic's problem. If it's that bad, you put them all in the corner away from any of the multi-million-dollar boats that are being serviced so that we, as homeowners, get to view that. And it's terrible. It's disgusting. So if you can't move those boats, I recommend you shrink wrap them so they look like regular boats and they're not derelict boats with covers ripped apart and it looking so. Spend some money, shrink wrap them so I can't tell whether it's derelict or a boat.
I would ask you to direct your comments with the chair.
I'm directing the comments to the group because my team is here too. So we were told, and the reason I
Sir.
bring it back to you,
Sir,
Mr. Attorney,
Mr.
because you were
O'Keefe,
the one.
Mr. O'Keefe.
He was the gentleman who
Mr.
said he was
O'Keefe,
going to
just
do
one
this.
second. Mr. O'Keefe, just, can you please read what you're going to say?
Sure.
Keep it to us and don't, and
That's
he'll answer your questions afterwards.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, the other thing that came up where I'm really struggling with as a homeowner, we've heard in the last meeting and several side meetings with different locations that Safe Harbor and the owner of the property is going to build a 9-unit condo development in the corner of Hull and Victoria. The reason they were going to do that is one of them is to block the view for us looking at a 50-foot maintenance building. Has anyone seen any plans? I don't see any plans on any of these documents. I don't see anything. Nothing was even mentioned tonight. So how, as a board, can you approve what they're doing based on a verbal consent that the current owner, who's the largest taxpayer in Quincy, is going to put up a 9-story building with condos? There's no plans, there's no nothing. So how do you vote on our surplus lot based on hearsay? And am I correct that during the last meeting, you guys were told as a group that that was potentially part of the plan?
The last meeting, yes, it was said, but this is not, that's not even
building, boat, yard. So I think that's terrible. I think that's being a really bad neighbor. Another issue I have, which came up, and I tried to address it with board members when I stopped at City Hall, 2 of the members on the current planning board have boats in Marina Bay. Isn't that a huge conflict of interest? How do we think they're going to vote? How is that not a conflict of interest?
I'm going to address that.
Sure, please do.
No, I want to address this, because what I think you're saying is, I'm going to have a conflict of interest, because I've been there since 1966, when I was a little boy. I currently don't have a boat there, and I'm not signed up for a boat there this year, the year going afterwards either. And as far as conflict of interest goes, I'd be more critical than almost anybody there, because I've been there the longest than everybody here. And I'm going to be more critical than anybody. And I think if you're not a good neighbor, then you should clean up your act. But I also know that this is a boat yard, and it's an I believe it's an industrial zoned boat yard. Now, if I bought a condominium and I overlooked a boat yard, and it's a boat yard, they're not trying to turn it into an airport, it's a boat yard. Okay, so what are they doing that's different? When you bought, I'm assuming you bought a unit there.
Yeah.
Did you, okay. When you bought the unit, was there a boat yard there?
Let me clarify.
No, was there a
something.
boat yard there?
Absolutely, let me clarify something
Okay, if there
for
was
you.
a boat yard there, then what should they put there?
In the last meeting, you said you were a boat owner.
I am a boat owner.
Right, and that you use Marina Bay.
And this season, I'm not using Marina
All right,
Bay.
all right, guys, wait. Member Shaughnessy, Mr. O'Keefe. Member Shaughnessy and Mr. O'Keefe, please.
Excuse me, Mr. Keefe, we've
It's
received.
Kevin, it's-
Kevin, Jim Fatsy's planning director. This rule that was spoken to you by the chair of the board is you direct to the chair of the board. I'm not gonna grade your comments. Some of them are patently incorrect. There's no 9-story building going
Okay,
down there.
how big is it?
So-
Let's bring it
I'm
up.
not gonna bring it up because it's not before us. So listen to what I'm gonna
But
say.
it's going to be, and it'll affect our
Okay.
view today.
Did you just hear what we said at the beginning of this meeting? Were you here for the beginning of the meeting?
Of course I was at the last meeting too.
Okay, so what you can do is you can read your letter and then don't sit here and think that we are supposed to watch you because that's not your job. Your job is to speak to the chair and to the board and be polite. We don't know what's coming. You don't either.
I'm dealing with the facts. This gentleman said he was a boat owner last year at Marina Bay.
End of facts. You read your letter, I've read the letter, we've received the letter at the board. It would have been read into the record had you not got up here and read it yourself.
I know that, that's why I
So-
sent it in.
Good, so finish it and let us move on, because there are other people here asking to have the same opportunity that you're taking.
Okay, if I'm
okay?
not mistaken, I think I was the last individual speaking for the land, is that correct? And one more? So that's fine, I'm trying to stay
Mr.
with the
O'Keefe,
facts.
let's move it forward.
To the chairman.
So, in closing, Safe Harbor has been a good neighbor to a certain extent. I like the new landscaping idea. I think that's great. What they didn't address is how tall are the trees from the surface lot to the Atlantic? What are we going to see? I know it details it. I looked through, and some are 6-footers, some are 8-footers, and some are 2 or 3. Okay, I'm not going to see a 2 or 3 foot arborvitae in front of the surface building. What I'm going to see is, I'm in the Atlantic, I'm up a couple floors, I'm looking down, I'm looking at a 50-foot structure. Give me 8 to 10, 12-foot trees. I don't need a 2 or 3. Let's cover that building. So I know it was listed in the documents, and thank you, Safe Harbor, for putting it in there in the landscape. I did notice that. So,
Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe.
so that's how, and excuse me for my being emotional. We've just had trouble with disseminating information that comes out. I've alerted everybody to utilize
Mr.
the
O'Keefe,
Planning and
right,
Zoning
thank you.
website, because it's very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Thank you. This man, lady in the front.
Hi, everyone. Kimberly Aiken, 10 Seaport, owner at The Atlantic. Been there about 10 years. Spoke last meeting. Just had a couple of questions. I've been to all the meetings on the proposed project. I thought that we had already covered at the previous meeting, like the most recent meeting, clarification of the surplus lots redevelopment to construct a ship repair structure, but not a ship building structure. If so, why is the building structure language still captured on the most recent planning board agenda for tonight? That's my first question.
Yeah, I would clarify that in that the land use laws refer to this use as a shipbuilding, but that is not what's going to occur on the site as
Okay.
stated by the proponent.
Okay.
However, the maritime, use definitions have this facility as shipbuilding, so
Okay.
it's sort of the
So we can just
regulations.
ignore it if we see it in the.
Correct.
Okay. The second question is, if you guys know at this point, what will the hours and days be for any crews or vendors that will be able to enter the redevelopment premises, whether it's the one next to the Atlantic or other buildings adjacent? Meaning picking up snow removal, they showed that, I think, in the plans, and some of the dumpsters, garbage trucks. I'm asking this as an additional implication of noise impact, as an additional implication after effect of noise impact besides the upfront construction. Are there going to be snow removal trucks, garbage trucks at 5 a.m.? So my question is, what are the hours and days that crews or vendors will be able to enter any of these redevelopment premises where the redevelopment is going to take place?
That would have to come from the proponent. Do you have any other questions?
And then just the last one is more an overall question. Who would technically be, if the project gets approved and it kicks off, who would technically, what group or groups be responsible to monitor Safe Harbor as a landlord if any of the standards or anything that's discussed is being said, this is what's going to happen? Who's technically the group that will be in charge of monitoring that they do what they say they're going to do?
Yeah, I'll take it. All right, that's a good question. So I'll expand on it a little bit. What we're doing here today is the land use permit, right? The zoning, the use, does it fit on the site?
Yeah.
We get to do a site plan review, check the drainage and the like. If the project moves forward, and this is any project, the next phase, the big phase is building permit. Now, prior to building permit, that's with the Department of Inspectional Services. That's where these plans, they start putting in the doorknobs, right, and the cabinets. Like, the plan sheets go from 20 sheets to like 200 with the level of detail. Now, there's some intermediary permits. There could be a foundation permit that's required or demo permit prior to the new construction. Not sure that's at play here. So we'll stick to the land use permit and then the building permit issued by the Inspectional Services. Now, once that permit's issued, then it's up to Inspectional Services to send staff out there at periodic times to review the construction as it goes along.
Okay.
Then, as the project approaches completion, we go through what's called an occupancy phase. And we get tapped to come back in to review review all of our project conditions to make sure that they were met during construction. And it's not just the planning department. We also, part of this process, we get comments from the health department, from the city engineer's office. They tend to do a lot of their own on-site reviews of stormwater systems. Once they're installed, prior to backfill. And we even have some conditions when we do read recommendations that speak to those next steps. Is that helpful?
It does. What my biggest concern is if, as an owner there, and it's just going off past experience with them being a neighbor to us and seeing what's happened. You know, some of the pictures were just one of the examples. So it's just a matter of who's going to be the support for the owners that's going to be actually looking at things both, you know, at the start of the project, if it gets approved, but also ongoing to make sure that corners aren't cut, things aren't, you know, happening that shouldn't be happening, et cetera.
Yeah.
So,
The day-to-day for any project would be to start with the inspectional services.
yeah.
Again, we do typically always put the conditions for rodent control measures, for dust control measures, for noise, those types of staging areas. So, excuse me, there could be a little bit of health department that reviews some of the dust and noise, but mainly it's through the inspectional services department.
Okay. That was it for me.
Great.
All right, thank you.
And is there any, I guess, answer to hours of operation, potentially, her question?
Yeah, so hours of operation.
Mr. Tyler, could you just come up to the microphone so everyone can hear you? Thank you.
Hours of operation will remain exactly the same as they are right now. We are 7 days a week through the summertime as it's a parking lot. As far as noise pollution goes, we're beholden to all noise laws. We can't start our equipment before 7 a.m. In the city of Quincy, so we're beholden to all of that. And as far as noise pollution goes, this is gonna allow us, 80 of the boats that are currently stored outside are gonna be inside. So the work that we currently do outside with buffers, sanders, and all that stuff will now be done inside. So from a noise pollution aspect, it should bring it down on the property.
So separate from the boat noise, like any of the vendors that, just perfect example, the garbage trucks
Yep.
or the snow removal, those will not be before 7 a.m. We're not gonna hear this stuff overnight.
Exactly. There is a parts delivery, Kellogg, that delivers early in the morning, but it's just a van. They don't beep or anything. But other than that, the trash pickup, all that will stay the same as it is right now.
Great, thank you.
Is there anyone else? The gentleman with the hat right there?
Commissioner, I live in 10 Seaport Drive. My name is David Moy. Seaport 10 Seaport Drive, that area is like a door, like a marine base, the door, the front door. Right? So everybody pass, we see the shipyard. But I again make the shipyard make the like a warehouse building because it's not good look. Marine Bay is very famous in the Quincy. Good look, nice. Everybody come here, just step in the Marine Bay, you feel comfortable, relaxed, right? But now you make the warehouse really bad, right? Really, I live in Marine Bay. I want to keep the Marine Bay good. I'm not against anybody to make the business there or building, but you when you make everything, you have a march, Marine Bay style. That's very important. We want to keep the Marine Bay always good name. Then a good name for the Queens too, right? So that's why I again. Now maybe have a look like some. I know that area. I have some like a look a warehouse, but that's old grandfather law. But now I want no more like a warehouse thing, like doing everything, compare, nice, look nice. That's what the city to do it too, right? When you city the plan, oh, you want to make, you have a compare next the area, not special thing show up. That's what I again anything like a warehouse thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The lady in the back?
Valerie Murphy, 243 Victory Road. I just want to, I appreciate you giving some information to the woman that was up here previously, because the trash is picked up before 7, and the dumpster, you can hear the dumpster banging on the truck, 6:30, 6, it is before 7. So I appreciate having some recourse in how to mitigate that, but, and again, as Mr. Shaughnessy, you said you like to have a piece of the pie. I feel like I've had a piece of the pie that has not been pleasant so far, so I'm just concerned with a building of this size, what the residents are gonna feel, and the help that, make sure that they get the help and support they need if this project goes forward. A 50, foot building is quite large, and concerned about the water view in the skipper lot, I would wish that people would be as concerned about our view. On Victory Road, we're gonna be looking at a building, it's gonna block a lot of our sunlight, and it's just, I just would appreciate you considering those points as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Right, yep. Sir.
Good evening, Chairman.
Good evening.
And all the members of the board. My name is Kai Hui, one of the resident and owner of the nearby Atlantic condominium community, that little yellow rectangular thing on the left-hand side. How tiny that is compared to the huge building there. I like to voice some of my concern regarding the proposed shipbuilding and repair structure. Planned right next to our residential condominium building. And I understand fully the importance of the boatyard to like to do more business, but I believe the current proposal raised a lot of concerns regarding our neighborhood, the quality of life, and also the environmental impact. And the property value because of this. I have several key points. The number one is incompatible industrial use in a predominantly residential area. If you walk in there, it's beautiful, like many board members said, it's a beautiful community there. And the building itself, when you look at the previous drawings, resembles a warehouse. No matter what kind of color you paint it on, still a warehouse. Does not fit into this residential waterfront community. And many people mention it's huge, more than 50 feet high, and the length is 250 feet long. And maybe the next dimension is at least maybe close to 200 feet. It's a big structure, no wonder you call it a structure. Number two, because the building is so high, it will dominate our nearby area. It brought our view to the ocean, to the harbor, not just one dimension, but also 2 or 3 dimensions. And number three, as I mentioned before, that will impact, negative impact to our property values. And many people, like myself, have invested a lot of money into our property here because it's a nice neighborhood. And we don't want to see our property drop because of this residential area turn into an industrial area. Number four, noise concern. Even though they can control the hours, but still people can work in second shift, work in the night hours, need to sleep during the daytime. A lot of noise, chewing noise, engine testing noise. We can hear that almost every day now. Point number five, worry about the air quality, about the fumes, because they must have some diesel or gasoline used for the boat engines. They have the one that they have to test them, because that might create some health hazard because of these fumes. I kind of know why they need to build such a big building, because they like to work on the boat, not only in the summertime, but also in the wintertime. That means all year round. I think the gentleman knocked his head. I think that's why we worry about that. And traffic and safety, in and out, not just the regular passenger cars, but those are trucks towing the big boats. How they turn that circle there, traffic circle there, is always a nightmare. Can be a dangerous situation for many people. And the lastly is the quality of life. I remember what Mr. Shaughnessy said earlier. Why we care about this, why we have so many people come from our condo community, because we live there. We are facing these kind of issues every day, every minute. And I know the engineering team did a good job trying to improve the landscaping, put some nice flowers there, but to me, that's only cosmetic change. I think this is an uphill battle for them, because the building itself is so huge, nothing can cover that up. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to say my concern. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there, gentleman in the back?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Dan Shea, and I live at 10 Seaport Drive. I'm a longtime resident of Quincy, and my wife and I moved down to the Seaport building probably about 12 years ago. And since then, there has been the boatyard there. I don't believe the existing building that is on the property right now was there when I moved in. I believe that there may have been a very small type of building there amongst the boatyard, or the boats. The point I'm trying to make is they did come in and build a new building probably 3 or 4 years ago, which is that building on the left-hand side of the plot plan. That building is about 30 feet tall. It's 1/6 of the size of the building that is being proposed. The building that is being proposed is also 50 feet high, which is going to make a dramatic impact on our building and the people who live in our building. When they were showing the renderings of the drawings, I saw a rendering for Victory Road, and I saw a rendering of how it's going to look from Hall Road and how it's going to look from Commander Shea Boulevard. I did not see a rendering of what it would look for our building with the revised landscape. I would like to see that. But make no mistake about it, this is going to have a serious impact on our building. The property values are likely to go down, and the views from the building are, what we're going to be seeing is that building all day long. And all I would ask you is, if you lived where you do, and they put a 50-foot building beside your house or beside your property, would you approve that plan? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Woman in the back.
My name is Gail Jacoby.
Can you get to the microphone, ma'am?
Okay, sure. I thought I have a really big
Your
mouth,
name?
you'd hear me. My name's Gail Jacoby.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm also a resident at the Atlantic on 10 Seaport Drive. I spoke last time about my concerns regarding the environmental impact, the health of the residents in the area, particularly in our outdoor areas. We have a lot of dog walkers, we have a pool, things like that, that I believe that will be breathing in fumes and asbestos and formaldehyde and all those good things that come with boat building. And yes, we do know that we live next to a boatyard, but we didn't know it was a 50-foot boatyard. And again, I would say thank you for pointing out that they're really not good neighbors. There's trash. That tarp is never maintained. And the wind in Marina Bay is pretty strong, so I honestly don't believe that that vinyl fence will withstand the wind that's there. And as such, not being good neighbors, I don't believe they'll maintain it the way that they'll need to do either. Because we have vinyl fences at the Atlantic, and they oftentimes go down, and they have to maintain them. But nonetheless, my spiel is I would like you to recognize some overly passionate people as part of what makes Marina Bay so special. We maintain the integrity of that area because we do care. We're not just, here to voice and complain. But Marina Bay is a beautiful area. I think that we'll all agree. And I think it's because people speak up for and maintain those standards. Our median home price in Marina Bay is $800,000. We don't come there cheap, right? We just raised our tax rate to what, 11.78 right now? We pay, I'm this year going to pay an extra $1,000 in taxes. And for that reason, I ask that the board respect me as a resident who contributes significantly to the tax base in the city of Quincy. God knows I'm not getting roads for it, right? So I should be getting a good quality of life that I'm paying for. We're not paying for snow removal in Marina Bay. The city's not paying for our trash retrieval. The city's not paying, I don't know, what do they? We live in Marina Bay. We pay, for that quality of life. And so I would ask the board to please recognize our contribution to the city and give us that quality of life that we deserve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Does anyone else wish to speak on this matter?
Good evening, Board. My name's Deborah Riley. I live at 9. It's been a long day. 9 Landgrain Street, and I am also the Ward 6 City Councilor. This has been a long process that began before my election to the City Council. I came here as a concerned citizen, I believe, starting with the Conservation Commission, their application there, and here we are a year or so later. I believe this is the 3rd or 4th appearance that has come before you, and numerous continuances. I've learned a lot during this process, and I want to thank you all for that. You've all made yourself available to me. I want to thank the Planning Board for insisting on a landscape plan and performing their due diligence with this application. It is essentially 2 separate projects combined into one Planning Board application. I appreciate that the Skipper's Lot drainage will be vastly improved, alleviating environmental and conservation deficiencies that is there currently, and I expect that we will be hearing more about future plans for that part of the site. Any additional development will be a new and separate application, and I think it's important for people to understand that. With the boat storage facility, it is difficult, I know, but I understand now that this is a by right use of this land. Currently, there are no view or shadow ordinances in the City of Quincy zoning, and unfortunately, this board just simply does not have the authority to outright reject this application, and I want my residents and my neighbors to understand that. However, this is going to be a big change for those residents at the Atlantic condominiums. The construction will be disruptive, and for some owners, their quality of life will be forever changed. I ask that this board do everything you can to minimize the disruption and the impact to those residents. And I agree that the site currently is blighted and trashy, and it has been for quite some time. It's also important to note that Inspectional Services is responsible for code enforcement, not this board. So I have 3 asks. I would like to make sure that the restroom facilities are addressed for the boaters. I ask that the applicant maintain the plantings and the landscaping and keep the site beautiful for years to come, not just when it's first done. And finally, I ask for the Marina Bay residents that are here, please, and watching online, that you please get your property managers and your board of directors to reach out to me. I have been trying desperately to communicate more effectively with a wide variety of residents in the area, and unfortunately, with the exception of using my online communication, I have been unsuccessful in getting any introductions to your board of directors or your site managers. So please, it would make all of our lives easier. This is not the last time that this applicant or others are going to come before these boards, and it would make my life and yours a lot easier. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter? Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Is there a recommendation from the board?
Yep, the department has a recommendation. After consideration of the site plan accompanying documents and the comments received from the city staff and peer review consultant, the department recommends the board approve special permit under section 3.1.3 major non-residential use, subject to the below listed special and general conditions. Special condition number 1, the applicant should perform additional soil tests during construction to verify the underlying soil conditions. Any modifications to the stormwater management system as a result of the differing soil conditions shall be submitted to the Department of Public Works for review and approval. 2, the applicant shall submit a construction management plan to be filed and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. This is through the Inspectional Services Department directly. This shall include the locations of stockpile and/or staging areas for construction equipment and materials. The applicant shall also address construction period traffic impacts by providing a detailed sequence of construction and addressing any space constraints and detailing how they'll be addressed as construction progresses. 3, the applicant shall be responsible for restoring the roadway, curbing, and sidewalks to finished condition once construction activities have concluded. 4, the applicant shall obtain drain and stormwater management permit from the Department of Public Works prior to the issuance of a building permit. 5, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall perform a water flow test with the city's water department. 6, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the applicant shall submit and record at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds an operation and maintenance plan for the project stormwater system, which shall include the following: stormwater management system owners, an estimated operations and maintenance budget, schedule for all routine and non-routine maintenance tasks to be undertaken, snow management plan showing snow storage areas and location of all stormwater BMPs in each treatment train along with discharge points. Inspections shall be conducted by a qualified professional such as a civil engineer or environmental engineer. Special condition 7, the applicant shall consult with the Quincy Health Department on noise mitigation measures for construction-related noise-generating activities to comply with local and state regulations. 8, the applicant shall submit a written rodent control plan to the Quincy Health Department for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said plan must be designed for the duration of the project and include at minimum the following: name and contact information of a licensed pest control operator to be retained by the project proponent for the duration of the project. Scope of the proposed plans for rodent control of rodents, including number, location, and monitoring frequency of bait stations, as well as the anticipated length of service. Special condition 9, the applicant should develop and submit a written dust control plan to the Quincy Health Department for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said dust control plan is to be implemented during any site activities to ensure compliance with state air quality regulations. 10, to the extent applicable, the applicant shall comply with the city's tree protection ordinance. I will say, normally I don't read those, but in light of the audience, there's a number of general conditions that are also contained in here. Speaks to any hazardous material, DPW compliance with street opening permits, landscaping in general, prior to the issuance of an occupancy, final certificate of occupancy for the project. All parking areas and landscaping shown on the plan referenced above shall be completed. It shall be the responsibility of the owners of the site to ensure that all vegetation and landscaping is maintained in a healthy condition and that any dead or dying materials be replaced at the earliest appropriate season. Any violation of the general condition is considered a violation of the site plan approval in the City of Quincy zoning ordinance and may be subject to enforcement activities, again, by the Inspectional Services Department. One other general comment, number 16, the hours of construction and delivery is 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. on Saturday. All construction and deliveries shall be prohibited on Sunday unless the same are approved by the Chief of Police for Sunday activities. That would conclude the department's recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. What is the wishes of the board?
Make a motion to approve,
Do I have a second?
pending recommendations of the department.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that, and I just want to voice a little something here. Just, you guys, I want to approve this. I love Marina Bay. I've been down there a long time. You have to be good neighbors. You have to clean it up. You have to do that, please, right? Don't come back here again in a year from now and say you want to go for something else, because I'm Irish. I don't forget easily. So when I ask you, you know what I mean? Like, clean up the shrink wrap, clean up the old boats, try and be good neighbors so that we're all back here again. We can say, you know something? They were great neighbors. They did what they said they were going to do. Do what the people are asking you to do, and we're happy to approve it, because it's great for all of us.
Thank you, Member Shaughnessy.
So I second it.
Thank you. We got to vote on the vote. Everyone in favor? All right, thank you. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Okay, can I have your attention, please? There you go, that's a little better. The next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for 74 Elm Street, Planning Board case number 2026-04. Mr. Fleming, you are up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Rob Fleming, Fleming & Fleming. I do represent the applicant here. We were here April 8th, and the matter was continued to complete peer review and other city department review as well. That has been completed. And if you need revisions that were made to plans stem around some engineering, Eric Radnese, our engineer, is here this evening if you would like to hear exactly what revisions were made. Is that a yes, or?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
take it. Yep.
Okay.
Good evening, members of the board. Eric Bradnese from Engineering Alliance, civil engineer for the project. We received some peer review comments from BSC Group that we addressed. They were very minor. There were a few comments relative to stormwater management standards. They requested we prepare a groundwater mounding analysis for our stormwater system that is the pervious paver at the back of the building. We prepared and provided that, and then they had also just asked for some proof of our information from our Conservation Commission approval. We provided that as well. We did receive comments from the DPW as well. There are some minor comments about updating the fire service and showing a new sewer service. We were going to reuse the old one. We have no, we will make those updates to the plans. We have no issues with those comments from the DPW, so those will be updated as well. But other than that, we addressed everything else that was brought forward to us. Thank you.
And I believe, and I'll let Mr. Stevens kind of step in, I believe the recommendation is to be made this evening.
Well, this is a public hearing.
Yep.
So does anyone have any comments on the project? Does anyone in the audience? Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this project? Okay, being said, there's no one in the audience that wants to speak on this. I'll take a motion that we close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Is there all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is closed. Does the board have a recommendation, Mr. Stevens?
Yep, through you, Mr. Chair, through the board. After consideration of the site plan, accompanying documents, comments received from the city staff and peer review consultant, the department recommends the board approve site plan review under Quincy zoning ordinance, Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review, and special permit under Section 5.1.17, parking waiver, subject to the below-listed special and general conditions. Number one, the applicant shall obtain all applicable findings, variances, and special permits if needed from the City of Quincy Zoning Board of Appeal. Two, the applicant shall submit a construction management plan to be filed and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. This shall include the locations of stockpile and/or staging areas for construction equipment and materials. The applicant shall also address construction period traffic impacts by providing a detailed sequence of construction and addressing any space constraints and detailing how they'll be addressed as construction progresses. Three, the applicant shall reconstruct the sidewalk along the entire property frontage of Elm Street and Miller Style Road with bituminous concrete and reset or replace granite curbing as specified by the Department of Public Works. Four, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall perform a water flow test with the city's water department. Number five, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the applicant shall submit and record at the Norfolk County Registry of Deeds an operation and maintenance plan for the project's stormwater system, which shall include the following: a stormwater management system owners, an estimated operation and maintenance budget, a schedule for all routine and non-routine maintenance tasks to be undertaken, a snow management plan showing snow storage areas and locations of all stormwater BMPs in each treatment train along with the discharge points. Inspections shall be conducted by a qualified professional such as a civil engineer or environmental engineer. Number six, the applicant shall consult with the Quincy Health Department on noise mitigation measures for the construction-related noise-generating activities to comply with local and state regulations. Seven, the applicant shall submit a rodent control plan to the Quincy Health Department for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said plan must be designed for the duration of the project and include at minimum the name and contact information of a licensed pest control operator to be retained by the project proponent for the duration of the project. Scope of the proposed plan for control of rodents, including number, location, and monitoring frequency of bait stations, as well as the anticipated length of service. The applicant shall develop and submit a written dust control plan to the Quincy Health Department for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said dust control plan is to be implemented during any site activities to ensure compliance with state air quality regulations. 9, the applicant shall comply with the city's tree protection ordinance. And that would conclude the department's recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. I just want to say one thing, and it was a long meeting before, but I forgot to say, Mr. Fleming, can you relate to the owner that, when hiring and doing construction, please to hire someone that can hire the men and women of the city of Quincy?
Absolutely, I will.
That being said, what is the wishes of the board?
Go right ahead.
I make a motion to accept
Is there a s-
the approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
You gotta read this one.
Okay, the next order of business is a public hearing, 190 Franklin Street, Planning Board Case Number 202605. This is a public hearing, and it shall conduct to review the applicant of Jacob Son, 190 Franklin Street, Quincy, Mass. 02169, for site plan review on the Quincy zoning ordinance, Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review, and 51.7 parking waiver. The applicant proposes to add 1 unit to an existing single-family and add 2 units to the second building for a total of 4 units along 10 interior surface parking spaces. The proposal also include professionally designed drainage controls and landscaping. The property contains 13,750 square feet of land and is located at 190 Franklin Street. The subject property is located within a residential B zoning district and is shown on the assessor's map 3016, Lot 4, Plot 110. You are up.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is Patrick Foley, business address 265 Willard Street. I'm the attorney for the project here tonight. I'm joined by Brian Donahue, who's our architect, and Chi Man, who's our engineer. The project we're here to discuss is 190 Franklin Street. As you can see right there, currently on this 13,750 square foot lot is a single family home. You can see it's a larger lot for this neighborhood, garage in the back. I'm sure everybody on this board can agree with me when I say that Franklin Street, starting from School Street, all the way down to Independence Ave, up Franklin Street, heading towards Braintree on that hill there, has seen its fair share of development over the last few years. You get 9 Franklin Street, you have the restaurant right next to it, which was developed, the Dunkin' Donuts right next to that, the 6 townhouses across the street from that, which is commercial, the gas station on the corner with 9 units, which is a stone throws away from our project, our proposal. And as you go up the hill, the countless number of 2, 3, and 4 family homes. When you really look at all those projects, I really feel what we're proposing here tonight is actually a pretty modest ask when you compare it to all those. Between the lot area per dwelling unit with some of the larger ones, as well as our parking layout compared to the smaller 2, 3, 4 families as you head up the hill, I feel it's a really good project. What we're seeking to do here tonight, the applicant is seeking to add 3 additional units to the existing home with 10 parking spots. So we'll have 4 units with 10 parking spots in total. These will be condos, so they'll be owner occupied. They're gonna provide much needed housing to a housing market that does need inventory right now. There's a need for these type of condos. As I see it as a professional right now, there's bidding wars right now for people to buy things. So it'll be a good thing for everybody. Before I turn it over to Brian to go over the drawings, I want to add that we were proactive before even filing this project. We did a neighborhood meeting with Councilor Ash. Richard always does a phenomenal job bringing everybody together. We got some good ideas from people in the neighborhood that we did implement into our drawings, which we changed before filing. So I'm going to have Brian come up now and just walk through the architect plans. There, Brian.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Brian Donahue, architect, Donahue Architects, 21 McGrath Highway in Quincy. As the hour is getting late, I'll try and be brief. We've all been here for a while this evening, but I'm excited about this project. It is something that I'm proud of from a production standpoint for my office. The site is, as Councilor Foley mentioned, a couple of blocks up from the intersection of Independence and School Street, which is a busy corridor in the city. And it also is about a 10 or 15 minute walk from the Quincy Adams T station. I'm controlling this, right? Yeah. Okay. Existing conditions. Now, on the site, it's a fairly large site for this neighborhood in the city. It's probably twice as big as a lot of the lots in this part of South Quincy. There's what was, I'm sure, a very elegant Victorian home on this property, which is unfortunately a state of disrepair. And so we're hoping to save it in its essence, renovate it, and add to the property. 190 Franklin Street is, as they mentioned, 13,750 square feet, so it's a large site. It does slope gently back from Franklin Street about 5 feet in elevation towards the back of the site. It also abuts Audrey Street, which is a dead end, which comes in from the neighborhood in the back. That leads to some of the changes that we made based on our neighborhood meeting. There is a garage on site, which the lower left photograph, it's obviously seen better days, and that will be raised as part of this development. But the home has a general essence to it that we're trying to draw from to pick up for the rest of the architecture. I shouldn't move from this slide unless I mention that if you know this site, there's a magnificent Japanese maple tree on the south, on the corner on the right here. We have brought an arborist, and we're doing everything we can to save that tree. It may need to be pruned and protected during construction, but it is spectacular. I recommend that you go by and take a look at it. So we're going to do everything in our power. We've hired an arborist to guide us along the way to prune it and protect it during any construction that hopefully will go on here. So the general condition of the site is not that great, but you know we're hoping that this project really brings something of quality into the neighborhood. These are just existing plans of the existing house. So the proposed site plan really shows what we're hoping to do in terms of placement of buildings. The existing house is next to the driveway on the left, and that will be completely renovated, new finishes, kitchens, bathrooms, basically soup to nuts from the outside, new siding, new windows, new roofing, and everything else that goes into a complete renovation. And then we'll be adding another unit. Unit 2 is completely connected to it, so that building facing Franklin Street will be 2 units. The driveway will remain in the general location that it is now. Then we'll be adding 2 townhouse units in the back right-hand corner. And that's strategically placed as well, not only to accommodate the parking and the internal vehicular circulation, but it also tucks it into the back of the site so it's not so prominent. And as a matter of fact, right now, if you drive down Franklin Street with that tree in blossom, you can't even see the backyard, which you won't be able to even see during the summertime at least. So this basically shows the general site plan improvements and the new footprints of the building. I also want to emphasize that considering the size of this lot, we still have an inordinate amount of green space here, twice of what the ordinance requires in terms of square footage per unit. These are, I won't belabor this, these are the new layouts. So the existing house is an existing 3-bedroom house, so that will stay as a 3-bedroom house. The addition to that will be also 3 bedrooms, open plan kitchen on the first floor, and a bedroom built into the roof. The townhouses are 2 bedrooms and a home office. These are relatively small townhouses. They're under 2,000 square feet, including the garage. So they're not generous by any stretch, but they do have 2 bedrooms and an office space and an open plan for living, and 2-car parking for each. So there'll be 4 spaces inside the townhouses, and the rest of the 6 spaces will be outside on the lot. Elevations, a playfulness with materials and colors. The top left is the elevation. The wish here is that we make it look like a grander single-family house, but that is actually 2 units. So we're tying the front porch together, stealing some architectural elements from the existing house, which, as I mentioned, at some point in time was, I'm sure, very elegant. Elevations of the townhouse, building in the back, drawing some of the contemporizing some of the Victorian details of the existing house. Those buildings are 2.5 stories. And I just want to go back to the site plan for a second. One of the major discussions during the neighborhood meeting was, originally we had the 2 townhouse units were fronted on Audrey Street. So we had a walkway through from Audrey into the property, and those were the front doors. So those houses appeared as they were on Audrey Street. That wasn't received very well. Twofold. The folks in the neighborhood thought, well, what's going to happen is people are going to cut through here, and they're going to go to the T, so they'll be coming through Audrey Street. They'll be parking on Audrey Street to visit these townhouses. So we'd rather have that, the backyard of these townhouses. So I'll show you the landscape plan, but the front now is, actually the front main entrance is off the driveway, and those are back door patio spaces for those 2 units. The landscape plan has a little bit different layout of the patios, and it's much more detailed than this plan. But I just wanted to emphasize that that was really, it was a number of parking spaces. We added a 10th space. We had 9 originally, which is the bylaw requirement. So they wanted a little bit more parking, and they wanted to shut off that connection between Audrey Street. Top left is now that view from Audrey Street. So that is really the backyard to those units, and there will be deeded easements on outdoor space for each unit owner of the 4 units on the site. The upper right is a view from between the existing house and the addition and the 2 townhouses in the back. Again, another view on the lower left, looking at that building, and the lower right, obviously, is a view from Franklin Street approaching from the north. So again, what we try and emphasize here is that we are doing as much as we can to maintain as much green space as we can, save a significant house, not historical, but certainly significant in its architecture, and sort of bringing that back to life. And hopefully it's something that will improve the streetscape and the overall neighborhood as a whole. Shadow studies is just it's really a place filler. There's no real effect on any of the neighboring buildings from our development. So in summary, I guess the things that I'd like to emphasize is that we're saving and restoring a significant existing house. We're providing, obviously, needed housing in the city, saving and nurturing what is a beautiful tree, beautiful Japanese maple tree. As a matter of fact, the arborist said he'd never seen a Japanese maple that large before. We're maintaining a significant amount of green space, respecting the architectural character of the neighborhood, which is mostly multifamilies, a few single families mixed in there. And then we, most importantly, we tried to listen to what the neighbors had to say and implement that. So if you don't have any questions for me, I'll introduce Chi, who can talk about the civil and drainage part of it.
Okay,
Any
thank you.
pictures of the tree?
You know, that's a good question.
It is,
I'm
but-
going to get up here, and I'm not going to have a picture of that tree.
I saw it. I was there today.
Yeah, it is. Just take a ride by if you have time. It's beautiful.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Chi Man from Hardyman Design Group, 1285 Washington Street in Weymouth, Mass. So we work with the architectural design, with, again, as mentioned by Brian, originally we had 9 parkings, but we added 1 more parking based on the neighborhood meeting input. So we have access on Franklin Street. The site access on Franklin Street with the existing driveway, which is, we are gonna widen just a little bit to get into the site. Parking will be right off the driveway front in, and also 2 parking tucked against the first unit, unit 2 actually, between the maple trees. Our grading is pretty much matching the existing grade, so we try not to impact the root system of the tree. We don't want to change the grade, that we are going to be damaging the root. And the site generally follow the same grading as the existing. The front yard of the site kind of drain towards Franklin Street and from the existing building. When it's rain, or the runoff drain back to the back of the lot. You can look at the grading plans. So for stormwater compliance, this is a 4-unit building. We are actually not required to comply to the stormwater management policy, but this project is designed to fully satisfy the stormwater management policy. All the roof runoff is going to be collected by header pipe to catch all the downspout from the roof, and then route into, we have a 4x4 20 unit of 4x4 concrete galley system catching all the roof runoff. We have a catch basin in the middle of the parking lot. The site is grade towards the low point of the parking lot, and then it's going to be treated by a deep sump catch basin, and then treated by a deep sump manhole for TSS removal. And because the site is kind of low, we don't have an outlet for overflow system, and the system is actually going to be designed to mitigate the full 100-year storm of impervious coverage, because we don't want any runoff to run in towards our neighbor. We have run our drainage analysis. Basically, to sum it up, 2-year storm, we are capturing all the runoff on site. Nothing is really running out on a peak rate. And averaging between 2 and 10-year storm, we are roughly about 80% decrease on the runoff going towards our neighbor. So on the post-development conditions, basically just a landscape area will be draining naturally, follow the existing conditions towards the neighborhood or towards Franklin Street. We are planning to have new water connections to feed all 4 units, but at the time, Franklin Street under construction, I think the city is trying to pave it, so we are working with the city, maybe bring a new stop in for the future, feeding the all 4 units. Sanitary connections, the front 2 buildings is going to connect into Franklin Street. Likewise, we are going to be working with the city, maybe update the stop for now, and that can provide to the second units in the future. And the sewer connection for the rear building, there's a sewer manhole right off the property, so we are going to be connecting to that sewer manhole as well. Electrical, I think these are small buildings, mostly be overhead wire. Don't need a transformer for this size of building. If there's any questions I can answer.
I'm gonna just touch on the electrical. Why wouldn't you bring it underground to go to the back of that building?
Well,
It would be so much more eye appealing.
we'll
You
work
go
with
overhead, you're gonna have to put a telephone pole in there.
we definitely take that into consideration, work with the power company.
Since you brought it up, that's why I asked. But is there any wishes of the board that would like to talk on this matter? You good?
I have a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Foley.
Thank you, Brian. You answered my question on the back road. That was forefront of my mind, so thank you for that. The other thing is, gee, you just mentioned the gas lines. I think they just put a new one in there, like literally within the past a week.
Actually, I think they actually put in the new stuff for
They
us.
did, and
They, as you know, the whole street is dug up and
Yeah.
they're putting a new main and tapping off to each house all the way up. It's been going on since the
I'm
winter.
just
So-
hoping it's adequate
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you.
so-
that-
Yeah, so that, what they did for the existing house, they sleeved a new line in to upsize
Okay.
it. And they roughed in a line, originally they roughed in a line right here.
That's what I saw, yeah.
Right there. So, we just told them to leave it, because the foreman for Riley was asking us what he wanted to do, and we just said, well, we're proposing a couple of units here, so we just left the rough connection there. So it's all set for gas.
That's perfect. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure it's adequate for the new
Yes.
units, you know, because
Right.
now's the time. The street will be locked up for 5 years.
Right.
After they pave it.
Right, right.
Okay, and thank you for that. And my third thing was, one of the great things about being on this board, along with the pay, is is you get to, you know, see some parts of the city. I mean, I've driven by that site my entire life. I hadn't noticed that tree.
Yeah.
I was floored when I saw that thing. So thank you for all the consideration, and my thought with that was, gee, kind of a balancing act for you. You know, with the pitch of drainage for all that new parking area, we want to maintain what you can, what's currently going into that root system now. So that would be some pretty heavy drainage around those 2 parking spaces up front. But at the same time, I think, and your arborist would be better at this, we want to make sure that the pitch is also away from it, because if you add water to that, if that parking lot were to pitch in that direction, if everything, rainwater sheeting off it, we might not notice it for 5 or 10 years, but that tree will die. And if it's overwatered, you know, so if all of a sudden all that surface water is heading in that direction, it's a problem. If we take away what's going there today, it's a problem. So it's a balancing act for you, and I think, I appreciate the fact that you brought in an arborist. I'd love to know how old, if he can estimate how old that tree is.
Yeah.
And you're right up the street from the Adams birthplaces. I'm not saying they saw that tree, but it's close.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
close. That's an
It
old
is.
tree.
It's beautiful.
And it is beautiful. So I really appreciate you guys taking all that consideration in for that. But gee, as you think about that pitch, you know, it's a balancing act for you.
Yeah, we can actually work with the arborists. I have seen some of the ideas. They actually put a perforated PVC pipe down so the root system can breathe and also water can get in.
Like I say, that's why I say, if you look at the size of that area, if somebody wasn't thinking, and they put a catch basin right there underneath that second car and said, yeah, we're putting a catch basin there so this parking area drains there, it will kill that tree.
Yeah,
And,
as
you
I
know,
said.
it will overwater it, you know, and so I really appreciate you guys working with the arborist on this, you know, doing what you can, you know, and, cause that's such an addition to those homes.
Yeah.
My God,
As
that's
I said,
really something.
we taking the existing drainage characteristic, except for taking in more on-site recharge. So,
No, I really appreciate you thinking along those lines, and that you're already ahead of me on every little gas, because that was one of the first things I thought of. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, I'm good, thank you.
I think my follow-up on that is snow removal. Like, I think you're limited on space on where to put the snow.
I think we have some designated area, except for we have a large green space behind the 4 parking spot. There's a large area for snow removal.
Okay. Yeah.
That's also shown on the layout plan. There's a snow storage area. No.
I'm saying this area or that
That
area?
area right here. So you can see it it says snow
Oh,
storage.
got it. Got it. Yeah, so behind the cars. Behind the floor
Go
car
back one
space?
more. Yeah, the bubble area.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
No. Yeah, but up top where it says 7.
yeah.
1, 2, 3, right there.
Well, I would say, do we want to avoid the lower right because of the tree?
Good catch.
We can definitely look at it, though.
Nice, nice. I missed that. That's great.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay.
I think it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Can I just one question? You know, obviously, we saw this with the department. There was a case once, they used a concept called grasscrete, right? Where you had some infiltration right at those 2 parking spaces. So perhaps we've got some asphalt that allows some water to infiltrate, you know, as well as, you know, working with the arborists. So, you know, potentially those 2 nooked parking spaces could have just different pavement treatment that would help with that tree. Just wanted to point that out. I always thought that grasscrete concept, I think, which was like.
Grass creek have the grass pave, and they also have, you know, rubberized pavement as well.
Right, that allows some infiltration, but it will steer it if you got a significant rainfall into a catch basin, but, okay. Sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. I was driving by there today. I was a silver truck that was parked out kind of there blocking traffic for a while. But that is a nice tree there. But, you know, that lot's definitely seen better days. I think this is a great design. I love the farmer's porch. I'm a big fan of farmer porches. I think it's going to improve the area, so it's a nice job on that. I just like the way it looks. I think it's going to be a nice project. Yeah, absolutely.
Jacob's son, who's here today, is the client, the homeowner, and his wife, Wendy, great folks. And Jacob is a structural engineer, a PE, and he had a lot of input on this. He's got a very discerning eye, so we can't take all the credit. It was a collaborative thing to design these buildings, so any compliments should go to him as well.
Well, it was a good collaboration between owner and architect, so I like the way it looks. But just a couple of things. You know, you've been in front of me before. We're going to have any electrical car charging stations in there? We're going to have...
Yeah, we just talked about that. He is going to have electric chargers in the
Oh,
garage.
great, especially with the price of gas now, right? And what about lighting in the back, down the driveway and around the back area for the parking area? Do we have any lighting plans for that? I didn't see.
I'm sorry. We had a photometric plan done. Did you get that in the file, Joe?
We got that plan in, it was either yesterday or the day before. The days are all kind of running together now.
Okay.
And I sent it over to planning. I knew it was kind of gonna be late for this meeting today, but you guys have that going forward.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and that's all I have right now, but nice job, it looks good, so, thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone out in the audience that would like to speak on this? Councilor Ash?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Richard Ash, 7 Silver Street. I serve as the Ward 2 City Councilor. We held a community meeting on February 4th at McKay's. Had about 15 people in attendance. And the issues that we discussed were parking, maintaining and restricting the vehicle access from Audrey Street, trying to get some more parking spaces on the actual parcel. We discussed drainage. We'd had a nice lesson on Caltech systems and the vegetation, and discussed the Japanese maple, which you all have either driven by or discussed this evening. I believe, based on the follow-up, most of the concerns were addressed, which is great, and I want to commend and thank the team for that, and certainly with adding the parking space, maintaining the tree, the 2 buildings, the 2 units in the back were taken down from 3 bedrooms to 2, and I believe overall restricting the vehicle access from the side streets, from Audrey Street, and creating the same homey feel, but with a different layout in the back with the shorter fences, still maintaining that level of comfort and the architecture of the building. The snow removal, I actually hadn't thought about it until it was just brought up, but I guess my question would be where the snow goes if those parking spaces are occupied, because usually during a snowstorm, those parking spaces obviously would have vehicles in them. So I would just raise that as a question, not necessarily an overt concern, but definitely if those spaces are full, I would like to know where the snow would go. But all in all, I think the issues that were raised were addressed. They were addressed in a timely manner. I love the style of the building. I think it is effectively how you marry the existing history with modern touches and moving it forward. I also think that the developers and attorneys and architect firms and the homeowner, Mr. Sun, I think that they deserve to hear too once in a while that, actually it was great to be receptive of the community, of the feedback and the product that's in front of you. The initial product was good, raised some issues, raised some concerns, brought that back to tweak. And I believe I'm speaking for the neighbors, at least that showed up to the meeting and that have discussed with me since then, that they would not mind this property in their neighborhood. Franklin Street, as Member Foley just mentioned, they have a new gas line going in. That is not for this project, although I know we might want to think that there were some leaks up and down Franklin, which I'm happy to see addressed. That was an issue for us. So if the gas is already hooked up, of course that's preferable, and actually I think it's mandatory because there would be the moratorium. But in addition to the main being replaced and the street being paved, we also have 10 Independence that is being constructed right now. So the neighborhood could use a break from the construction. I would be interested to see what the timeline is. Either try to get it all done at once, or at once 10 Independence and the street is paved, which the Franklin Street should be done late summer, early fall. The neighbors would, of course, like a reprieve from hearing the construction. And I would also hope that the vehicles and all contractors could be on the parcel and not on the side streets and not even on Franklin Street. We've talked about how it's a 14,000 square foot parcel. I'm hoping that would be enough area and enough room to hold all of the vehicles and all of the utility companies and contractors that need the site for construction. But those are issues that I look forward to addressing with the representatives. Just wanted to voice the community meeting results and say that the building from an aesthetic standpoint looks great. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there anyone else in the audience that would wish to speak on this? Okay. Considering that we just opened this tonight, would be looking to push this out to the next June 10th meeting?
Yeah, I think, the size of the project, the advancement of the plans, the remarks from the counselor, I think 1 month is appropriate in this case, and the department would recommend the matter be continued to June 10th.
Okay. Just remember, if everything, you have to have all your ducks in a row, I's dotted, T's crossed, because we go on summer recess, and the next meeting won't be till August, so make sure you have everything done. That being said, is there a motion to move it to the June 10th meeting?
Motion to move it to the June 10th meeting.
Is there a second?
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
See you in June.
Thank you. Nice job.
Excellent.
Okay.
So I'll just make a comment to the board. We've got the 475 Hancock, battery storage, 90 Columbia from earlier tonight, 65 Newport, which was continued tonight as well. And now this one, 190 Franklin, moved to the June. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 continued cases. The department does not have a new application in hand at this point.
Nice job, Brian.
For June, there's still a week or 2 to go, but that's just the makeup of the June meeting at this time.
Okay. Is Mr. McKenna not going to do it
June 10th.
No, he should be here. Want to go get
June 10th.
DJ?
the Atlantic Development crew, Jimmy? All right. So the business meeting items this evening, we did list an A&R plan here. We thought there was a chance it could make it. It did not. The department reviewed an A&R plan down on Washington Street. We needed a few notes to be made on the plan, and that just didn't get back to us in time. That'll roll over to the next meeting. And then There is the preliminary presentation of a proposed development up in Crown Colony, and we've got the development team coming in. At this point, the preliminary meeting is contemplated in the city zoning code to get some initial feedback on a development proposal. And without further ado, I think.
Well, you guys have the floor.
Yes.
Welcome.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I noticed Councilor Ryan is here, so I want to recognize her. I'm not sure if you want to come up and make any comments or statements first.
Sure.
Always be here.
Might as well make use of myself. You all know who I am, Virginia Ryan, Ward 4 City Councilor. So last night we had a community meeting at 1600 Crown Colony Drive. It was received very well. It was probably, I'd say, 30 people there.
How many?
30 people there. And it's an over 55 project, so they were very much interested. And the developers set it up that the residents could go from station to station. So it was very well received. And I think it's going to be a good project. Let's hope so, huh?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Ms. McKenna will.
Thank you. Just for the record, I'm DJ McKinnon from Atlantic Development, and I haven't used this yet, so we're going to see how this all works. The site we have, it's 1600 Crown Colony, it's a 15-acre parcel. It was the former Harvard Pilgrim building. Then they named it Port 32. We bought it last year. And as you know, many of the larger buildings in Crown Colony are empty at this point, with pretty much no prospect of leasing. We've had it for about a year, and it's remained empty. Further up the street from us, 2000, similar sized building. We're 240,000 feet. That building's 270. That's empty. It's been empty for a few years. And then next door to us, the building that Fox Rock bought, 1200, had a lot of vacancy. They have since made a deal that's been announced with Arabella. Arabella's moving across the street into their building, which theirs will be pretty much full, but the Arabella building will be empty. So, because of that, last year, and a lot of it was the vision of the city and you on this board, put in place an overlay zone in Crown Colony. You did the same thing in North Quincy to allow for mixed use into these office environments to kind of reinvigorate them and provide more of a mixed use environment that hopefully will both steer these in a good direction, but at the same time help the city recover some significant loss in real estate tax revenue from these properties. So in studying all this over the last year, we realized that because of the location of ours, we're kind of buried in the park. We had tried to study bringing retail kind of to this location, but we just couldn't come up with any concepts that would work. And as a result, we started to look at some of the residential options, actually started to speak with a lot of people in the cities, spent quite a bit of time down into other areas that have had good growth in residential, including Pine Hills down in Plymouth. People are familiar with that. And really found that one of the things in the market that's really needed is 55 and over for sale, basically empty nester housing. I'm very familiar with it because I sold my house in Hingham and actually moved to a condominium. Technically, it's not 55 and over, but it's in the shipyard in Hingham, and everybody in there is empty nesters. So it's a product that works really well and in high demand. We like it. So essentially, that's what we've got proposed for this site. So to take the office building down and go with the 55 and over for sale. So just quickly, if you were coming into Crown Colony, if you take a right at the first light, that's Congress Street. Congress Street loops back up to Crown Colony Drive, and this would be on Congress Street looking across Crown Colony Drive into the entrance of the site. You'd see a couple of buildings with a clubhouse off to the side, so this would be that view. If you came up Crown Colony Drive past 1200 and took the drive in on the left, this is a view of what it would look like in that direction. And then the site, I think everybody here knows where the site is. It's a little bit more of a zoom in on the site itself. It's 15 acres. where the first visual was Congress Street looking in this direction, the other one was here, buildings here. Site's pretty much, you know, all paved right now. And then for a site plan, what we're proposing is this. We have these buildings, each building, there's 5 of them on this plan. We have not programmed anything in this portion of the site yet. So the portion that we're looking at, we have 5 buildings, they're 6 stories each. Ground level is parking, and then 5 stories of residential above. Clubhouse and amenities are kind of right up front in this area. So each building has about 50 parking spaces in the building, as well as surface parking surrounding it. We end up with a parking ratio of about 1.7 on the overall site, which works pretty well for this type of use. This site does have the benefit also of the shuttle and Crown Colony for people to go to the T if they want to use that as well. That's kind of the quick shot of the site. These are just some building facades, just to give you a sense of the visuals of the building, the clubhouse. We're kind of back to these views. So we just really wanted to today just kind of give you a quick overview, explain what the use is. It would be age restricted, it would be for sale. Not that you look at it from an economic standpoint, but a lot of people have been asking us how the economics work to the city. So when the office building was fully occupied and times were good, it was assessed at $58 million, which gave the city a little over $1 million a year in tax revenue. Now, they did get because they were a nonprofit, they got a reduction on that, but if they were paying full taxes, it would have been just a little over $1 million based on the $58 million valuation. We bought the site last year on the open market for $11 million. So needless to say, the value's plummeted and the taxes have now come down significantly. With the 5 buildings on the site with the clubhouse, that would give the city about $2.5 million a year in real estate taxes. So it completely flips it back in the other direction and exceeds what it was before. So that's how the economics work. And, you know, it's really a use that is, you know, needed in the city at this point. A lot of people, we've heard they want to sell their homes, they want to move somewhere, but they don't want to move to Pine Hills. So it's kind of a local Pine Hills option. So that's it.
Any questions from the board?
I have a question.
10 minutes.
No, you're killing.
I have a question, DJ.
Sure.
Just help me out here a little bit on where we are. Where's Flatley's piece of land up at?
Right here. Next door.
Okay.
That's a 16
That's the,
Tufts building.
Okay,
And the
that's
vacant land
Flatley.
is here,
Yeah,
and then if you continue up the hill further, you get to their office building.
so, and this green piece of land right here, that's yours?
This, yeah.
And what are you gonna do with that?
What are your thoughts?
I don't know, I mean, Pine Hill has a golf course, maybe you'd put a little pitching putt there or something. I don't know, I'm asking you, what, you're just gonna have an
Really
empty?
Immediately, you know, could there be a few more buildings there? Because this is about 315 units. If we added 3 buildings that would fit there, it would make it about 500, which, you know, 15 acres is still, not, you know, a reasonable density for Quincy. That would be one option, but and really at the neighborhood meeting, we talked to people, and some of the people suggested that.
We need 55 plus. God hates a coward, step right in, I mean, let's go.
Okay. Well, no, we're trying to see what people's thoughts are on it, to be honest with you, so, but that would be an option.
Any other questions?
Just satisfy my curiosity, is there a formula for the size of that clubhouse, like X number of units, X number of square feet for the clubhouse? Because I love it, don't get me wrong, I like everything about it, I like the design of the clubhouse, the location of it up front, you know, it presents to the street, you know, it looks good from the street, just hoping it's big enough.
I think it's probably on the small side, based on this. If we did build a few more buildings here, then you'd have, you know, part of with condominiums, people are always concerned about the condominium fees. So if you can spread it over more units, then you can do more amenities and maybe even add a pool and a few things. So, yeah, I think we could if we did that.
No, it's just, if you had said like, oh yeah, there's a ratio that, you know, X number of units means the clubhouse has to be so many square feet, but I think it's I think it's beautiful. I like the location.
Excuse me, Member Fol, can we just get on the mic? They're having a hard time hearing it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. No, I like everything about it. I like particularly the location of the clubhouse.
Yep.
And, but that was, I was just curious about the size. But thank you. I'm good, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Chris? Abby? Just a couple questions. 55 and over, you definitely probably want to put the pickleball court in the back left corner, because they're going to want a pickleball court up there. Absolutely. But if you do develop that, DJ, would you consider putting like a restaurant in or some type of retail? Because there's nowhere to really eat around that area. And I was up there today in that little building on the right-hand side, and I walked around that site this afternoon. I mean, it definitely needs some love. And, but there was also a lot of people up there. I noticed there was a lot of people walking on the sidewalks up there now.
Yeah.
With dogs, couples, children. I mean, but if maybe if you put in one of the other buildings, like maybe a restaurant up there, it might warrant it. I don't know. You're better in this than we are.
We would love to, and we have reached out, and the challenge right now is we just can't get anybody to commit. What the cycle that we see potentially happening up there is, we think some of these other sites are going to be available. We are going after them ourselves because that's, we're developers, that's what we do. And kind of the feedback we're getting both on the retail and the restaurant side is, with the way the park works today, those type of uses want to be at the front of the park. They don't want to be buried in the middle. On the other hand, if we could get maybe a larger retailer somewhere in the park, now it allows things to spread out more. In the meantime, the more we can do to introduce more activity, more people, and more people living there, that just helps with that equation. But no, we have tried, because, as you know, we've done a lot in the retail world, a lot of restaurants. We've reached out to a lot. We just can't get anybody to come in at this stage, at that location. But our hope is, as we take on some of these other sites, which we are actively going after, that we're going to be able to bring in some restaurants and retail.
So just to jump forward 5 years, so this could be a whole residential community up there at Crown Colony? 5, 10 years down the road?
I think if we can get a larger anchor retail in there, a nice anchor retail in there, I think you could get a pretty good retail component in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
How big is that piece that you bought, TJ, that whole thing?
15 acres.
It's big.
Yeah, it's a big piece. Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised Market Basket didn't try on that.
They,
Too late.
That's all I have, DJ. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay.
We look forward to seeing
Thank
the finished plans.
I think they're getting filed tomorrow, so we'll see you June 10th.
Thanks for the heads up. So now we have another late night. Okay, Mr. Stevens, that's it. I'll take a motion to adjourn. Second it. All those in favor? Good night.